What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to Learn to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara. I'm Sharif. And as per usual, we're going to wait for the chat to populate before we start the lesson as people migrate over from the other stream. We already got Darwin in the chat as well as Big Nimit. And as always, Bears versus Bulls. Stan Chu first in the chat today. Welcome to tradertv.live. Thank you for subscribing and signing up. There we go. Now we got Bob Dub, we got Peng, we got Zippy Sane, Big Juan Padilla, Mr. John Wuku, Sailor Moon, David Lee Benton, Callum Mitchell Miller, Patrick Lang Loy. We got Toilet Brush. I like that name. Eden Bridge. I love that. The Piper. Oh boy, Trader. Oh boy. Paul Milligan. Shout out to the OB. I don't even think he's here today. No, his computer's off. Dave. We got Dre Day. We got Nick Sanders. Joe. HPDS. That sounds like a stock, to be honest with you. How are you?
I am fabulous this fine morning. 21 Savage released a new album, so I'm all smiles over here. Yeah, just really sad I missed out on this giant meta flush because I was looking at this bear flag, but unfortunately I missed it by that much. Shout out to Get Smart, and I did not be able to get in on this trade. How was your weekend and how are you doing?
Good. Very chilled out weekend. Lots of fun with lots of friends. Got to see the Cybertruck. Got to see a lot of family. I'm just trying to look for why the market just tanked off 17.0 1/3 down to 16.9 1/3. Looked like a 100-point move in a matter of seconds here on the NQ. Not really sure what to account of this. Gonna look at my investing.com app, see if there is any housekeeping matters we have to attend to before we continue on with the show. Fed Waller is speaking. He just began speaking at 11 a.m. Not sure that is the reason for this move, but we'll have to look. With respect to any auctions, nothing really that important. We have the 3-month and 6-month auction coming up in about 27 minutes, so not sure what to account this whole move here. People saying Fed news. It's the Fed. Let's have a look at the news blotter before we really start going here at Dara, because I think a 100-point move warrants a little bit more of an investigation. Waller. Yeah, so this is what it's Waller's comments, apparently, according to this article here by Reuters. S&P 500 extends losses. NASDAQ turns negative after Fed Waller comments. Here's some more comments coming from Mr. Waller. Says within striking distance of inflation goal. Doesn't sound so bad, but the article's a lot longer than that. So probably something to do with the Fed. With that in mind, obviously trade carefully, especially these Mag 7 stocks that are very much, dependent upon what the Fed's been saying, doing, thinking, breathing. I don't know. Let's have a look at some of the Mag 7 names. Down right now near the low of day is Amazon and Meta. They're both at their lowest points right now. So careful with these two bad boys, Meta and Amazon, both at support on the pivots. With respect to the first one here, Meta at the S1 level. Amazon is at S2, so they're both down and to the right. Apple was awfully weak this morning. It's back at support level 2 after getting a nice little bounce there off that 181 level, making its way back into 184 1/4. Softy as well was awfully strong on kind of two headline pieces today. The first being obviously that they will make Copilot available to small businesses. The other is that $1.5 billion deal that they signed with Vodafone for expansion of their data centers in Europe and Africa. So that was, it's up 0.5% right now, coming back off the highs though. Google was also quite strong, making it up to that 141.5 to support level 2 on pivots. It's now come down all the way back into the pivot itself at that 142, let's say almost at 1/3. It's below the half right now. So Google giving back some of the ghosts as well. And then Tesla started the day awfully negative on the news that Elon Musk wanted 25% of the company. I don't know why that upset people, but anyway, bounced exactly off support level 2 at that 212, let's say, and 1/4 and 1/5, and then shot up into resistance level 1 around that 223.5. But kind of giving up the ghost here, trying to find some support at pivot which is the green dotted line at that 220.5. We'll have to wait and see what these Mag 7 names do, but it's kind of been all chips today. Just look at the chips. You've got NVIDIA 3 1/3, AMD 8 1/4, Micron 2 3/4. So very, very chip strong today is the market. We'll have to see if that was just kind of for the morning or whether we get that continuation into the afternoon on the chips. All right, guys, today's lesson, super simple, right? Because trading is super simple. We're talking about momentum trading today. So we're going to be having different trading strategies or different trading styles throughout the week. I'm going to be talking about momentum today. The NOS boss is going to be on later in the week. Hopefully he is in Florida. He will try to, teleconference us from there. We're going to be talking about swing trading with him, possibly have another algo guy maybe coming in on Friday to talk about algorithmic trading. I know Adam and some other traders in the chat are all about their algos as well. So hopefully we'll be getting some of that in this week, and so you can get a little bit of a well-rounded view on the different trading strategies on the day. All right, let's start with momentum trading. Super simple, right? You're going with the trend, momentum trading. So investors can use momentum as a trading technique that seeks to profit from the herding behavior of market psychology, herding behavior of market psychology. Rather than the buy low, sell high kind of adage, momentum trading follows a strategy of buy high and sell higher, right? Now that may not, sit well with a lot of people who don't really like buying things that are not discounted, not on sale. I know when I go into the discount store or the pharmacy, I'm always looking for anything that has that red sticker on it. I want a deal. I don't know if that really kind of translates over to my trading style because I'm more of a momentum trader. So the buy high, sell higher is the philosophy of momentum trading as opposed to the old adage of buy low, sell high. Once a momentum trader sees acceleration in a stock's price, earnings, or revenue, the trader will often take a long or short position, doesn't really matter here, it works both ways, in the stock in the hope that its momentum will continue in either an upward or downward direction. This strategy relies on short-term movements in a stock's price rather than fundamental value. Now, it could be based on fundamentals, right? So if you're going with the momentum, the reason maybe it's running up is not really a technically based reason, especially with these Mag 7 names who don't really move all that much on a multi-day basis on technicals, but more fundamentals for whatever macro reason is running at that particular time. So some special considerations that you need to have when you talk about momentum trading before we actually get into any trades here. So some of the tools that you use for momentum traders and momentum investors basically help to define the trend, such as a trend line, right? So if you're looking at the daily chart and you're drawing a trend line that's connecting a series of higher lows, well, then you kind of already have an idea that the general trend is to the high side. When you zoom out a little bit, you're going to be looking at to see whether these recent higher lows are just part of a more consolidative area or they are breaking out, to 52-week highs, all-time lows, whatever your inclination is there. So trend line is like the obvious and most easiest way to see what the direction of the trend is and to try to get behind that momentum trade. A trend line obviously is a line drawn from the higher high or the higher low, whatever you're drawing the trend line on, or vice versa, over a given time period. If the line is up, the trend is up. If the trend is down, the trend is down, and the momentum investor sells that particular stock. Some disadvantages of momentum trading, like everything else, is going to be advantages and disadvantages. Just like any other trading style, there are risks that come with momentum trading. By using this technique, you should know that you are trading on the backs of other people in the market, and price trends are never guaranteed, always. And as always, be prepared for unexpected reversals and corrections that take place. This can happen, obviously, because of unexpected news or change in the investor sentiment in the market. And some of the indicators that you typically could use to, determine momentum, what the direction of the momentum is, or to see if the momentum is still going, We talked about this multiple times in the past. Relative strength index will be showing, some cursory uses of the RSI, the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, and moving averages and exponential moving averages, especially crossovers, the golden cross and the death cross. So momentum trading is what we'll be focusing on today, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that, Adair.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say what I like about this too is I think it kind of sets up the way, because I know you are a momentum trader. I think this shows really well. It's not just like diving in head first because the stock's up, right? Like it's about like waiting for these moments where we do have, I like that, it specifies here, and I know that's something you look for as well, looking for those higher highs.
Absolutely. Looking
for higher lows, or in the short, you're going to do the opposite, right? So what I like is it's not, momentum isn't just a stock is strong, jump in with both feet without looking, right? That's what I appreciate about this kind of take on this strategy. I guess the question I have is, how did you like get into kind of momentum style trading, and what do you like about it as opposed to other styles?
I personally like the moving with the direction of the trend rather than trying to see if I can guess tops and bottoms.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes there is such a good level on a particular name that you really can't give it up. So kind of you go against your momentum style. The last week, I believe it was at 220 level on Tesla we were looking at. It was a multiple day low, and it ended up holding. We were able to take a couple of bucks to the north side on that, but that isn't my bread and butter, right? My bread and butter is just trying to go with the trend and finding maybe dip trades off key support levels to take that north. I'm also a long bias trader, right? Try and diversify a little bit into shorts, but the idea is to find what's strong and then basically look for a particular area where it's giving you support and to try to take that long. We'll be getting into different trades today, hopefully as the show goes on, so we'll have some examples of that. But just as a general basis, take something that's strong on the day, weak on the day. If it pops up into resistance, take the short off there. Goes down into support, take the long off there and try to ride the momentum.
Okay, so basically just paying attention to levels and then also just going with the trend. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Quite simple. Super simple style of trading, super simple to describe. I guess a lot harder to execute in real life, especially when you get into the psychology of things, right? And your first dip trade, say, on, let's just say right now on Tesla. So we're coming back into pivot point on Tesla, which is that 220. Say you want to get a dip trade maybe off that 219 on Tesla. So Tesla started the day off awfully weak off this Elon news. Now it made a big move up into 223.5. Now it's right back into 220. Well, you could look for that whole dollar level pivot point crossover right there to say, no, look, this is as low as I think we're going to retrace here on TSLA, that $3.50 move off the top. I'm going long here. You could also be looking at VWAP, which is at that 219 area, which also happens to be yesterday's closing price on TSLA. So this is kind of how I would personally do my trade. See what's strong, see what's moving, wait for it to pull back, get it in on a good area, and then try to ride it up for a few more bucks, maybe a break of the high of the day. So we'll have to see how Tesla ends up playing out here, but it is holding, at least for the moment, above that 220 area as it retraces the Dara off that 23.5.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I like it because I also feel like I kind of thought, even when I was taking notes for this, I feel like the way that momentum trading is kind of viewed, like, on Investopedia and stuff, or the way things are worded, I feel like it seems like it's this like kind of more aggressive style, but I like the way you put it because it's literally just trading things that are strong when it makes sense to trade them.
Yeah. So
I think I appreciate you putting it like that because I feel like it honestly is like, it's really straightforward, like you said. So I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, hopefully, Tesla,
how was
a good
your
example
weekend?
In the wild. My weekend?
Yeah.
I listened to the 21 Savage album more than once.
Oh, I didn't even know
American Dream, because I'm getting ready for the American Dream 21 Savage Story movie. But the album has been released. Yeah, I mean, I didn't do that much. Honestly, I have to say. What about you?
Yeah, no, I did a whole bunch.
Nice.
Several friends who threw parties on the weekend. I had a fam jam. I went with the parents yesterday to Yorkdale. They came over and we got to see the Cybertruck together. So I'll show you some pictures of that. Have that on the phone. They're so uptight about this Cybertruck. My God, like it's not that important, guys. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of give up all your information to get in there. Not like I gave my real information, but whatever.
Oh my God, you have to give all your information?
Yeah. I didn't really understand what that was all about. And you can't touch anything. They can't even open it for you.
I thought
they wouldn't even
open
the
doors.
No, I didn't really understand what the hell will happen there, man. Anyway, so it was an interesting. It's as big as you think it is, though. So it is as big as I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to be as low as they had it, but I probably suspect that had something to do with the suspension, the air suspension that they had there. So we'll have to use that. We'll have to see about that. All right, guys. So not much in terms of, substance for the lesson today. We're not going to really belabor the whole momentum trading thing here, but we are going to try to incorporate some indicators for momentum trading style. As we talked about this, RSIs, MACD. We talked about moving averages as well. We'll have to see if Tesla can keep running up here because we're long at the $0.75, and we just came into that $0.25 area here. So maybe we'll put another little profit taker at 25 pennies or so. Tesla up almost 1% on the day right now. So let's see what we get there. Don't get too excited here. NVIDIA popping, the market coming back into 17,000. So we'll keep an eye on that. And with respect to small cap gappers, so I have a few here that I've been keeping my eye on. I thought Nimit will probably be pumped about this. I had ELAB on here, and I had notifications or alerts, I should say, for the break of the pre-market high on ELAB as well as RVSN, neither of which triggered. So you know my rules for these small cap gappers. I'm not taking them long unless two requirements are met. They have to be above VWAP. They also have to break the pre-market high. Both of these bad boys sold off after making strong pre-market high moves, pre-market moves, I should say. ELEV was also on my list. Multiple day runner that was running from last week. Thought, because it ran a little bit early on here after the bell that it would continue to run, but it's kind of given up the ghost coming in to break even. So I've got a few small cap gappers. There's also this LAES one, multiple day runner as well. That was running from last week. We don't have a great pre-market high to work with. We kind of do this $3 area. I put it at $3, but really I'm looking for a 305 break on LAES. But because it is a multiple day runner, I'm less inclined to want to take the pre-market high of this bad boy. But we'll have to wait and see how it's trading around there. That's the whole point of having these alerts, Adair. But we'll pack our patience, see what we get here. Tesla still at that 221 level.
Yeah, I also got involved in Tesla. I have to say, I too jumped in the Cybertruck. I think you definitely got a better level than I did. I just got into this 221 because it was around where the 9-day EMA was. We're holding it pretty well. But I'm trying to, in honor of momentum style trading, I'm going to try to be, I guess, a skosh more momentum-y. That is not a word, but I want to take out some of my profits around this 222. Why? Because we keep kind of seeing this level of interest here around this 222, right? Then I'm going to kind of see what we do here kind of around this 223.50. Now, if I see resistance, I will probably still be a bit scalpier because I don't want to completely give up my style, just for the sake of the lesson, but I am trying to kind of diversify and broaden my horizons a little bit. I think Tesla looks really strong. I like how we're holding this 221. And so we're going to kind of, I didn't take like a ton of shares. We know I usually don't. So we're going to kind of see what occurs here. My out is if we make a lower low. So if we go below this 220 area, so it gives me about 80 cents, then I will say Agia. I will step out of the Cybertruck. I'm very happy.
You can't even get in the Cybertruck.
Well, that's true. I will step like farther than 6 feet away from the Cybertruck.
So uptight.
Well, what kills me, I'm just happy you live up to your expectations, right? But it kills me. I assume they would have at least opened the door for you so you could see the inside. That's what I
know what he's doing here? He doesn't spend money on advertising. So he has to create a buzz, right? He has to make his product look all exclusive. Only the finest of the fine can come in and to see his product. So, it's a good look for him. We'll see whether or not he's able to sell them en masse. Anyway, I was talking to a lot of the employees there, and they don't expect to have any great number for a while. One of the employees ordered his, or put in the order for his in October 2020, and he's getting it the second half of 2025. So
I overheard you mentioning that, and that it broke my brain hearing it again here. Let me tell you,
it's kind of crazy. I gotta be honest with you. Well, not really crazy because Elon said he wouldn't be able to scale this for a while. He's losing money on these ones right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're pumping here on Tesla. We're at 221 1/3 now. Let's see if we can continue to move towards that earlier high of 223.5. I've got resistance level 1 right at that 224 area. But, you know, we're going to have to really pack our patience because it's later in the day on Tesla, and there's already been big moves on this name, especially coming off that 212.18. That's technically the low. Did it make a pre-market low? No. So that is the low. 212.18 is the low day on TSLA. So we'll have to see what's up with that. Let's see. Yeah, anything else
Well, there's
here?
a super chat from Cal Burdett. Thank you. Oh, diamond hands, Sean. Nice. But yeah, Kyle Burdett saying 199 super chat. Sharif, did you watch any football?
I did. I watched plenty of football this weekend. A lot of great games. Sadly, Dallas wasn't able to win. You know, it's hard being a Cowboys fan, but that's just the name of the game. And then you kind of move on and you have fun with other things, right? So yeah, I did watch football, Kyle. Sadly, we got our ass handed to us. There's really no two ways about that. But yeah, that's just the end of that. Yeah. What is time frames as comedy? I typically trade both on the 5, the 15, and the 1. You're not going to see me on the 5 or the 15 on these small cap gappers. When it comes to these small cap gappers, you're going to find me more on the 1 or the 3. When it comes to the big tech Mag 7 names, you're going to see me on the 5 and the 15. I like to be able to see critical support and resistance levels on these bad boys, and I'm not going to see that as clearly on the 1. So yeah, that's what I would just basically say to you there. Yeah, above 17,000 again here on the NQ as we come up possibly into that 17 and a third. There goes Tesla. So we got a dollar winner on TSLA as it comes into the $222 area, Adara. Good strength on Tesla, but I got to tell you, the best Mag 7 name on my list, at least, is NVIDIA, as it makes new highs again, 567 on this bad boy to the exact penny. And we are awfully close to that 567 area, just a smidge below 566 at the moment. So we'll see if we get that one running up, right? So we'll have to see whether or not NVIDIA can continue to pump. Probably a lot of sympathy for AMD. AMD getting multiple comments today from analysts. It's up 8%. I don't think I've ever seen AMD up 8% in one day. I could be wrong, but my memory doesn't. I don't remember that. 8% for a multi-billion. How many billions of dollars is this company? $255 billion market cap, up 8%. Super, super strong NVIDIA. AMD, wetting my beak on another out there on TSLA as we come into that whole dollar area. Adair.
Yeah, my first out is actually at that whole dollar area. I got in at 221. Like I said, I kind of enjoy these whole dollar, like 50-cent kind of in and outs. Not just because I got in at 220, that's not even the only reason, or 221, sorry. My bigger reason is that look where we had this resistance earlier, this 222 area. So I'd like to get out at 222. However, this failure of 222 has me a skosh concerned, I have to say, because we got almost there. We got to like 221.90, and then we flew right back down, right? So I'm getting a little bit nervous. I might take some profit out at this 221.50, 221.60 area if this continues to be an area of interest. Like I said, I'm trying my hand at a bit more momentum, but I am scalpier at heart, so I do want to honor that to some extent. You know, when we've had conversations on the show, especially with like trading week, like trading styles, I don't want to completely, you know, throw my style to the wind, right? So we'll have to see what happens here. Regardless, Tesla is still not giving up the ghost yet. Shout out there to Sharif with that one. But yeah, I think this is a nice little look on Tesla. Hopefully, we're knocking at the door of 222 again. So hopefully Tesla lets us in with open arms. That would be very nice indeed. People are asking about LEG. Leggett and Platt, let me look into this. Oh, down 10%. Okay, I will investigate LEG. Ooh, okay. So
222
restructuring. Tesla. Pardon?
222 Tesla.
Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, so I got some of my profit out then because I did have a beak wetter set there. But Leggett and Platt, just because a lot of people were asking about leg here, and I understand why this was a steady move to the downside. That's all I have to say. Leggett and Platt announcing a restructuring plan to drive improved performance. Just lots of notes on Q4. Here's the Benzinga summary. I'll just put this up here so that I don't have to read it all. Leggett and Platt shares trading lower after the company announced a restructuring plan, including workforce reduction and and withdrew its long-term financial target. So not a very good look for not a leg up, but a leg down for LEG here in the market. Also, okay, Nima Amadi asking, hey there, I went short at 159.50 on AMD, assuming that 160 would be very hard resistance. Do you think that's a good play? I mean, I'm not, not going to give any advice, but I can just look at the chart and see what I think on the chart. I know Sean, I believe, is still in this AMD short as well, so you were in good company in the AMD short. 159.50. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that's pretty much top wick. So I have to say congrats for that. I will say the fact that we're up almost 9% in the day is always going to make it kind of a little bit counter trend, right? But I think as long as you have strategies in play and you have a plan with resistance, then I think what I mean. I think you've planned it pretty well, right? I can't really discount the plan here. Does look like we're failing this 158.50, which should be about $1 in the money. So I think this looks like a pretty good look for you. Again, not advice, just like kind of my take on the chart. I would be concerned if we get a bit of recovery and momentum to the upside at this 158.50. It looks like we're holding it to the downside pretty well. I would say at least for the short term, it could, does not look like a bad play. Congrats to you for that win on AMD, but AMD has been so strong that I would just say, be aware of it. But congrats to you for your trade. And let me check on Tesla. Thank you for letting me know about 222, by the way. So wait, did I not have my peak water? I did not get filled at 222. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it didn't I don't think it exactly crossed. If it did, it was probably ever so brief. Maybe
so it just knocked at the door.
221.99 is that candle's high. So okay. Just knocking on the door. All right, Nick Dub wants me to have a look at mRNA. So we're going to look at Moderna, and I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of look at RSI as well, because we're talking about momentum trading today. And well, let me just change the color on this. Actually, let me change the thickness so you guys can see it. So the bottom over here, this is going to be the RSI chart. You'll be able to see 80s and 20s. So what we're looking for with respect to RSI is not to see if it's an oversold or overbought state, but we're looking at price action divergence with the RSI. So the reason this is important for momentum trading is because we're buying high and we're selling higher using a momentum trading strategy, or selling low shorting low and then covering lower, right? And so we want to see if the actual momentum, or the lungs of the stock to the upside or the downside, are getting exhausted. And one way to kind of look at that is to see if the price action is diverging from RSI. So Nick Dub wants to know about Moderna on a swing. So let's have a look at mRNA and see whether or not its price action is jiving with the RSI. So we have a peak of the RSI over here back on January 2nd on Moderna. So let's go ahead and put a little horizontal trend line over there on the top of this. And then on the 2nd is when we also made that high. So we had a 116 high where we weren't able to break through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight days. 116 has been a top on mRNA. And you can go back into late summer in August and see that 116 level held up there as well. So not only do we know for a fact that we've got an interesting price action resistance level there, but look what happened on the subsequent days after the RSI peak there. I believe, what level was that? 87.5, okay? When we peaked on January 2nd on the RSI. Look at the subsequent price action prints. They're all at 116. However, the RSI doesn't make a new high. In fact, the RSI starts making lower highs. So we had price action, relative strength index divergence between the two. So I would say, yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, but it is something to be careful of and to be cognizant of, because what you're looking for is a continued move up. So you don't necessarily want to start seeing lower highs on the RSI, especially if we didn't get lower highs on the price action. This is how Michael Moss has kind of taught me to use RSI, not really to use it in the simple way that's often described in some internet articles about buying below 20 and shorting above 80, but it's really about finding a stock that you like and then seeing where it is on the RSI and how it's jiving with its highs and lows. And right now, Nick, I got to tell you, we're printing lower highs on the RSI even before we started getting lower highs on the price action itself. I was going to say to you, maybe a $100 level would be an interesting support level. And it looks like, we broke that decidedly this morning on Moderna, coming into 97.2. But where are we at right now? Let's find out. mRNA. Where is Moderna up at right now? It's at 101. So we did break above that $100 area again, even though we are down 4.5% on the day on mRNA. I'm not sure how I feel about this as a swing trade. I got to be honest with you, only because it started diverging here, price and RSI. Nick, I got to tell you, I think I'd wait for a decided close above 116 to prove to me that it can take those late summer levels, early January levels, because clearly there's a bit of a top there at 116 for whatever reason. Nick, hope that helps.
I like what you said about RSI there too, like the idea that shouldn't be like the only reason for a trade, but it can help kind of confirm or deny what you're thinking, right? Which is, I think, what we say about all of these levels. Like I appreciate what you said to me about VWAP. Like it's not always going to be relevant to every stock every day, but it's always nice to know where it is, right? So I think I appreciate you kind of framing RSI in that way, especially on momentum day. So I am still in Tesla. I did get part of my position out at 221.60 because that was a decent area. Trying to get the rest out at this 221.89 because I noticed we had a hard time decisively chilling above. We're out of Tesla. So I realized I did not get out quite at that 222, but I was like, leopards can't fully change their spots. I did get in this trade a bit more momentum-y, so I'm still going to pat myself a little bit on the back for that, or at least on the shoulder, maybe not the back, but the shoulder, to be like, we kind of, got out of our range a little bit. But yeah, still trying to like be respectful of my style, I guess, a little bit too. So best of both worlds. Shout out to Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana. Also, I love Just in Time here. Great putty name. So of course, coming in here with a pun. DWALK round 2, tagging me 21. Because DWALK is approaching 21, and we know I will make the 21 references. Yeah, I have to say here, I apologize, couldn't get to this message like right away. So I think this was a little bit less laggy when this was initially kind of sent, but now it looks like DWAC is lagging a little bit. I would like to see what we do here at this level we opened at with these two candles of 1981. I think if we could bounce off 1981 decisively, I think that would be a good look. And then I would agree with you just in time that 21 would be quite an interesting level. And I think it would, fulfill the American dreams of people who are in DWAC. Let me see the daily chart here. Oh, okay. I was going to say, we don't really have any like immediate previous levels here to look at this 21. I have to say though, too, this is a nice break out of a range here for DWAC off of this this move here, because we kind of in that range of 17 to about 1810, 1820 for quite a long time, and then we had this nice burst to the upside. Let me zoom out a little bit further. Yeah, I have to say, I think like I agree though, just like purely on like just looking at its past moves, I think 21 could be a good look. If I look here in the past candles, it looks like this 20 has been a bit of a height as of late. But let me zoom in further. What did we do last time we hit these kind of areas? Okay, so we did bounce off of, again, I feel like this 20 is maybe a stronger level than 21, but I have to say, or we fell off that 22, so maybe 22, but I do think realistically, just chart-wise, from what I can see, I do see what you mean. I think we could claim this level beyond it just being a fun pun. And I do think that the fact that we're bouncing off this 1980 is certainly a positive sign. That is my take. Asan saying, 21, can you do some for me? Yeah, we'll have to see if 21 can hit, or DWAC can hit 21 here and do something for the people who are in that stock. But that is my take on DWAC here. Yeah.
All right, so there's clearly resistance here for whatever reason at $222 on Tesla. We've been up there multiple times. I did see there was some size on the book, not an awful lot of size that would really kind of explain why we're having this trouble ascending through 222 at the whole dollar level. But that kind of has me suspecting that we have a bit of an iceberg at 222 or somebody initiating shorts every time around there, even though maybe they are not sitting on the ask as an iceberg. So we'll have to wait and see whether Tesla can break through that whole dollar level. It did earlier on. It got to 223.5, but looks like we're definitely having trouble at this particular part. So keeping an eye there. The other one that was on our small cap gapper watch list, LAES, being brought to my attention as a possible breakout candidate there, got into that 310 level, now holding above 3, LAES. This guy's is small float, 7.5 million shares. Is the float. I'm not sure what the short float is, if any. Let's bring down trade ideas here, and let's find out. LAES. So no short float that we can see here on trade ideas for LAES. So we'll have to be careful there. I wasn't really planning on shorting it anyway, to be honest with you, or taking it long unless it really did something special. So going to keep an eye on Tesla. Keep an eye on some of these Mag 7 names. I'm keeping my eye specifically on the futures because we did retake 17,000 here. So I want to see if we're able to hold above 17,000, or this is just going to be kind of like the wicking dance when we get into that level, dance in front of it or above it for a little bit, and then only to kind of break down below that level. We have the earlier high at 17.0 and a third. So 17.033. We're at 17.014 right now. Or are we? Where are we at here? 1 second. 17.010. So, yeah, unsure exactly how to feel about this market at the moment, but already done well here on TSLA. So even if it comes back into my entry, it's all good there. Tony Price, UEC is a good long momentum play. Let's have a look at UEC and what this one is up to.
Yeah, uranium's been strong the last couple days, let me tell you.
Oh, it's been strong for a lot longer than a couple of days.
Yeah, I just keep seeing it pop up.
Yeah. CCJ has been doing real well as of late. A lot of possible macroeconomic headwinds here. Obviously, with Europe in trouble with their energy and firing off coal plants as well, they'll be looking to possibly bring on some cleaner alternatives. There's also mining issues with uranium. I believe it was Kazakhstan or
yes.
Yeah, thank you. With respect to some, less supply of uranium coming online, that creates a scarcity problem, and you're going to see the uranium names possibly run. So multiple possible headwinds. Yeah, but I got to tell you, who was this that told me to look at? Tony Price, great looking chart here on UEC. I mean, just as recently as this past spring, we were at the depressed level of $2.25. Now, we look at this huge move up here the last few days. I think this is the beginning of the Kazakhstan problem here back on January 9th. We got up from that 6.25 on the beginning of January 9th to today's high. We were up 32%. Within 5 days at today's high on UEC. So it's a fantastic name. As you can see here, this is the relative strength index. We are above 80, but we don't see any divergence between relative strength index and the price action. Relative strength making a higher high, price action making a higher high. So no price RSI divergence there. So great look, fantastic look, UEC. Cameo Corp as well, CCJ, Canadian company that you can kind of play for uranium as well. There's the look there. Up and to the right goes the chart. We were in, as the year-to-date move on Cameo. Let's start over here. Where's January 3rd? That was the first trading day of 2023. And then up to where we are now. We are up 128% on CCJ in the matter of a year. CCJ obviously is Cameo Corp, which is a Canadian uranium company, Adera.
Yeah, go Canada. And yeah, no, I think, uranium has been really strong, especially since that Kazakhstan situation. So I think very interesting look there. Also, sorry for the wait there. Shout out to Slay at Home Dad. I love that name in the chat. $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Long Pfizer. Brain virus coming per WEF website. So yeah, there has been the World Economic Forum at Davos going on right now. I can't find any specifics on this story. I'll have to check the WEF website. But I have to say that I can talk about the chart of Pfizer because I did just spend the last couple minutes here studying this chart. Let me World Economic Forum. Yeah, I think with regards to Pfizer here, I have to say I would probably, we've been in we have been in a downward trend pretty decisively since December 2022. We had about, it's more than a double top. It's quite a few tops here of this 54. Careened down from that area for the next year plus. We had a bit of a bounce up at this around December 13th, made a slightly higher high here as of January 2nd, so pretty recently, last couple of weeks. But I would say I would probably like a higher high. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see this break above this 30 because it's been a while since we've had that nice move up over 30. I think that would be, for me, a definitive change of the trend because it's cool. Now we're seeing slightly higher lows, but I think a new higher high would probably be a nice trend switch just from a purely chart standpoint, right? Not advice, just me looking at the chart. Yeah, I need to look more into the actual fundamentals of this, but I have to say, yeah, this downward trend for a year plus would probably need a little bit more, switching to the upside for me to be a bit more confident about this look. And yeah, no, I think in terms of other names I'm looking at NVIDIA. Because yeah, Tesla, I'm happy to go down to Tesla where I did just for my style, you know what I mean? And trying to be a little bit more momentum-y. NVIDIA, though, upward. It's amazing how this and AMD, like these larger cap names running like mad today, all these chips running to the upside. AMD up about 3.7%. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think this is a really nice look. I would be interested in a dip, but I'm also always worried when the stock is this strong on the day that it can kind of reverse. Because I've been stuck in those retracements, just getting involved in stocks too early. If I do see a nice dip opportunity, I may take a small position. We'll have to wait and see. Also, I have a question with regards to momentum trading. So I guess how do you know, like beyond the higher highs and higher lows, I guess how do you know when in a stock's move to the upside, it's like the right time to get involved, right? Like other than like is it better to wait like a little bit later in the movement to make sure it's confirmed, or just kind of at the first sign of like higher highs, higher lows, at the first sign of the right direction?
So typically what I just look at is the stock gapping up on the day.
Okay.
If it is, is it above or below pivot?
Okay.
And then kind of you base your bias upon that. I personally don't like to trade the open. It's just not my forte. Yep. I wait till after it's calmed down, give it an opportunity to establish some price levels, and then take it off a key support level intraday. So that's how I do things. I mean, it's really not that complicated. Just a lot of practice.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, yeah.
With respect to Tesla, out of this one came into my entry, so we take break even on the remaining 25%. I'm going to look to get involved in Tesla again if it's able to break above 222. So this is where we obviously had a problem this time at this particular level for whatever reason, because it broke 222 earlier. So I'm going to wait for another 222 break. If it does, if it can break above that, then we'll get involved in TSLA. Otherwise, going to stay clear a little bit from this one as it kind of gives up the ghost and makes a lower high. So that kind of concerned me as well, which is why I punched out at that particular location, not just because it was my entry point, but because we kind of crested out at 222. That's a lower high than the 223.5. So if this can put in a higher high above 222, I want all the smoke. But until that point, we're going to have to wait and see whether or not we keep retracing, possibly into 220. So if this one gives up the ghost below 220 on a closing basis on the 5-minute chart, this may be an interesting short because lower high, and then you're looking for a possible flat bottom break, and then the making of a lower low through 220. So keeping my eye here on TSLA. The one that continues to be strong, though, goodness gracious, NVIDIA, AMD, both headed to the high side. I still think that $10 level possibly on AMD could be interesting, but it's coming into, it's just like almost 9% now. We were talking about 8% on AMD when we first started the show. Now it's almost at 9%. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. Freddie, the friendly guy, asking me about UROY, another possible interesting uranium name. Let's have a look at UROY for Freddie. Let's pull that up. I have a bunch of different names on my my uranium watch list. In case you guys want to see what's on my watch list, just go back to that week when we did finding stocks to trade, and then find the day that I did my watch list, when you guys can see that I've got, geez, like hundreds of stocks on there. So yeah, great look. Yeah, thanks. Great look today on UROY. Big gap up from yesterday's close to this morning's open. How much of a gap up was that? That's a nice 5% gap up there. Kind of based out looks as if maybe here at that 2.5, that was a good area of support on you, Roy. And we are at, let's just say, almost a 1.5 year high. We have not been at these levels on you, Roy, breaking through that 380 this morning since back in April 2022. So almost since, you know, the kind of the beginning stages of the war in Ukraine and Russia. We haven't been at these elevated levels, kind of kept below that 3.5, almost 3.25 for quite some time, but you were getting up here. And there's no price action RSI divergence yet on these bad boys. So that's kind of, you know, that's another good thing that you can be looking for. Hot RSI making new highs, breaking through that 80 level. I believe it's, where is that RSI at? Yeah, that 88 level, so well above the 80 print there on Euro. We'll have to see how this one does in the next coming days. Yeah, but Tesla now coming back down into 220. I'm going to be really interested in TSLA as a short if it's able to break and hold below that 220 area. Let's say maybe a closing print on the 5-minute chart at that 219.75. Tesla now really headed to the downside off that 222 rejection right there.
Yeah, that 222 was a really interesting level for Tesla. Yeah, I mean, I don't, because you're right, because it did break above it earlier. Like, I noted it just because I'm paranoid and I note kind of every level that I could have resistance. But yeah, you're right. It is weird that it kind of it did hold that level even though it had broken above earlier. Interesting level for Tesla. Also, Nvidia kind of failing a bit off that 567. I don't want to get involved in this short yet because it's Nvidia, and I would like to have, you know, a shred of self-preservation instincts, hopefully. Not that I'm saying, you know, there's no short. I think if we continue to fail below this 566, if we make a new lower low, that could be interesting because we did have quite the consolidation around this 567, and I might get involved. Because I think this could be a really interesting look here on a short. I'm a little hesitant to short a name that's up about 3.5%. That being said, I think if you did go off a short off this 567 and it's well planned, congrats to you. Clearly a nice move there to the downside. Also, sorry for the wait here. Thank you so much to Shane D for the $5 super chat. How about a close look at LAES? I know we did discuss LAES earlier. I know you looked at it with regards to the RSI, I believe, here too. But I think intraday, LAES, I think breaking above this $3 and almost 1 cent area would probably be pretty key because that's a bit of a double top. We've had wicks above this area, but we haven't been able to close above it. So I think that would be a key look. That also would be a new pre-market high. And I know, like, you know, Sharif, one of the big things I learned from you and your small caps is new pre-market high on, and we did wick above it. We haven't had a closing level above this new pre-market high for LAES and above VWAP. So it kind of has fulfilled both, but I think for me personally, I'd be interested in this closing candle above that $3 area. But LAES also has ran in the past, as we know, which is, I think, another interesting indicator of small cappiness, for lack of a better term, sorry, that I know you mentioned that I kind of learned about, which is the fact that if it's run before, it could run again. Yeah. And I think LAES, as you see, it's run the last couple of days. We broke decisively out of this little consolidation area and made a nice rounded bottom here. I think, well, let me see, next kind of area. I like that we had this this 320 area. That's where we kind of had that nice little pop to the upside before this fall and then recovery. I think that's interesting. I think all of this kind of, I don't really think we'd be getting to 5.5 today. I think that would be quite a plot twist, although it can happen because small caps will do what they like to do. But I think, yeah, I think this kind of chop and churn around and this sort of a bottom that we then fell below at this 5.54 area could be kind of interesting, just longer term on LAES. But I have to say, yeah, not a bad look for the last couple of days here, breaking decisively from this $1 area December 29th. Now we're trading almost at $3. So good look here for SealQ, which is the name of this company. But yeah, so what else is occurring?
So DATS is running here. Good small cap gapper du jour as well. The details on this one are as follows: 1.828 million share float, $7.25 million market cap. So you got to be really careful with these type of stocks, guys. It's called DAT Chat. Shares are trading higher after the company announced the proposed spinoff of its Habitat platform business. Don't know what any of that stuff is. All I know that it's 64% to the good. It did break above the pre-market high there at 3 1/4, and it got to 3 3/4. So we'll have to wait and see if this one can get going here. But the interesting thing about this one is that I don't know what the hell this pre-market pop was. This was right at 9 o'clock. I don't know if this was an institutional order. Let me look at this at the 1 minute, because we did have pre-market action here, but it was ever so brief, where it kind of got off that 216, shot up into 323, then shot right back down. And on suspect volume too. So when I hover over this 1 minute volume candle, we only did about 14,300 shares. That kind of popped this one off, more than $1.33, and then retrace right back down. So I am a little bit suspicious of this pre-market level, even though we did kind of break out above that. And there was also resistance at that level back here at 1045, where we got right to that 3 1/4 again, only to break down below that. So right now we're doing quite well above VWAP, above the pre-market high on DATS. But yeah, just a little bit of I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion on this one. I'd rather get it off a key resistance or support level, pardon me, whether that's VWAP or so. Let's see. It's pumping right back up here, about to make a newer high through that 3.5. DATS awfully strong here, leading the way for these small cap gappers, because, well, nothing else is really moving here, well, except LAES, as Adair mentioned, but DATS doubling up LAES in terms of percentage done on the day. But I got to tell you, LAES probably the safer name right now, because it's a multiple day runner. And, you know, however safe this can be as a small cap gapper, you know, you really need to know that, because they're awfully dangerous, these stocks. There we go, through the 3.5 on DATS, coming into possibly that high a day, 373. This one's squeezing, very small float, so be careful with this one. Again, just to remind you, 1.8 and a quarter million shares on DATS float.
Yeah, no, that's a very small little float there on that chat, which is a great name. I just enjoy that company name. Oh, which one? We just reloaded AMD a couple seconds. Congrats, yeah. Sean saying there's a new AMD reload and Dollar Club, so congratulations on that. I also, oh, sorry, I'm just gonna look at this one for Noah. I don't know if my comment went through. Sorry, there, yeah, lots of comments. I apologize there. I'm looking at VLCN. I missed the earlier dip. Order didn't go through because it flew up. Is this the kind of Momo buy high, sell higher setup you're talking about? Let's look at VLCN, Vulcan Inc. Yeah, very much up on the day. Oh, this is a little penny stock here. Was there a catalyst on this one? With the penny stock, there doesn't really need to be, but I'm always kind of curious. Yeah, no, there's nothing on this one. But yeah, I would say this is buy high, sell higher, right? Something like this one where it's up so significantly on the day. Yeah. So yeah, so this would be an example, buy high, sell higher, just kind of getting in the dips. But I think also having like a plan of exit, right? Like kind of knowing where you kind of want to leave and where your out is going to be. And one thing I appreciate, one thing that I've learned, because I know Sharif, like you kind of talked about this, is it's like whatever you're going to use to get yourself into the trade, sometimes you can use that to get yourself out, right? So if you get in because you want to see like, you know, higher highs, higher lows, and then you see you're in a long and then you see a lower high, then, you know, maybe use that as your way out of the trade. You know what I mean? So like just so that you kind of have some symmetry getting in and out of the trade. I think that's an interesting look there. So yeah, I would say as long as you kind of have a plan for it, and as long as whatever you're kind of using to finagle your way into the trade is going to be the same kind of logic you're using to get out of the trade, probably an interesting look on that one. Also, I'm looking at Citigroup because this is a day 2 earnings play. It's still on my side chart because I have a habit of unfortunately not clearing up my side charts and reorganizing them as much as I should. Sharif, you're way more on the side chart organization than I am on that. But I like this 52 area, just taking it to 52.20. The only thing is I would probably have to do this with a decent amount of shares, so I'm still considering it. I did like this kind of pre-market area here. It does look a little inverted head and shoulders. Which I mean, I don't want to like assume a pattern, but we do have the parameters there. We were down on the day on this one. We have a head, we have shoulders, we have a neckline. I think if we do break above this with some velocity and momentum, I think this could be a really interesting look. But I'm just kind of wait and see here. Yeah, just kind of looking for trades. I don't want to force myself into a trade, you know what I mean? And thank you so much for that Tesla trade earlier. I appreciate it because that kind of gave me a look on that. But yeah, I will have to kind of see, not forcing myself into a trade. Netflix, though, did we have anything on Netflix? Because that is also another permanent fixture in my side charts. This is a name I also enjoy trading. Oh yeah, following test streaming, reportedly testing a streaming deal with France's Carrefour to boost customer base. I don't know why this would be a negative catalyst, but yeah, we are seeing lower highs, lower lows. If we continue seeing this pattern, I might get involved on a rangy basis in this type of move.
All right, so Tesla coming down below that 220 area and that critical kind of VWAP level at 219. We were talking about how VWAP and Friday's closing print on Tesla were overlapping. So the closing print is that 219 area. So say 218.90-ish, a VWAP a little bit above that now, was at the same level about a moment ago, 219.20. So awfully close, but I gotta tell you, lower highs and lower lows now on Tesla. So after bouncing up off their that support level 2, now trending to the downside. So let's see how this one does in and around these levels, because, well, it could get really interesting here. And then right as we broke above 17,000 on the NQ and got into S1, we are right back below that and negative again here on the NQ, albeit marginally 0.07% in the negative. So we continue to have these, you know, BS days where there's just like a little bit up, a little bit down, but really like no decided move. And you just need to look at the daily chart here to kind of understand that whole thing. Let me just get rid of these pivot points here because they're distorting the whole look. Where do we get there to these? There we go. And we can take off pivots here. Invalid parameter. Okay, doesn't want me removing pivots. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Studies, pivot points, apply. There we go. Yeah, so multiple. Look at how many dojis we had here in a row on the NQ. The 10th, the 11th, the 14th, and the 15th. Well, yesterday was barely any trading. We were open for a few hours yesterday, but the previous 2 days have both been very sideways dojis where we kind of moved up, and then there wasn't much in the way of actual action in the actual closing prints around those days. So we'll have to wait and see whether the NASDAQ can find any direction or whether it's just going to continue to be, you know, a little bit up, a little bit down. At VWAP right now is the NQ at 16,950. So tread carefully if you are going long any Mag 7 names here, guys. Mark Susi, what is your take on Boeing? It was a bit of a tough look there on Boeing because, yeah, I mean, had such a great couple of months to close out 2023, and then it kind of gave up everything there as, you know, lots of investigations being filed. Another very, very negative day for Boeing. What is it down now today?
7-something%.
So Boeing is actually down 7 2/3%, barely holding on to that $200 mark on Boeing with a low today of $200.56. Really, there's no level of support here unless you could say this $100 area on Boeing. We'll see if that ends up coming into play unless we get all the way into this 175, 176 area. That was the low that we made in October. We are becoming quite oversold if you're looking here at the RSIs. We dip below 20 now. But like I said, when you're using the RSI, the way that Michael Nash showed me how to use it was to look for price action divergence. So wait until we're making possibly lower lows on the price action, but not lower lows on the RSI. And then that may be an interesting time to buy. We'll have to wait and see, though, when that happens, because I don't know, man. Every time I open up the news, this company has a new problem that they have to contend with, whether it's Spirit Aerosystems or their own people or union issues or whatever. Nimit says DATS just started running, might be worth looking at now. It's literally just on that. What did it do? Oh, wow, just flew through high of days. So we were talking about that 375 being the high, just blew through 4, got into that 412 area, just a smidge below 4 now. We were talking about this one at 50%. It is now 88% to the good. DATS, awfully small float, guys, okay, 1.8 million shares. It's having trouble with that $4 level. Not able to close anything on the 1-minute chart above 4, but it did get into 413. Technically is the high day, putting in higher lows, plenty here, so we could have an aggressive flat top break at $4. But be careful because it did break through 4 and then it tanked right back down. So shout out to Nimit. Good call out there. Magic Mike. Is it a precursor to a kind of distribution days before a downturn since the U.S. has opened many war fronts? Have you seen something like that in previous years? I'm assuming you're talking about Boeing. I personally, haven't made the connection between Boeing and the military-industrial complex in quite some time. I know that they obviously had their hand in that, but I think it's more with respect to commercial airlines that they have to worry about and what's really bringing them down as of late. But I see your point. The Piper, on a momentum play, I always get caught on retracements. How do you decide whether to hold or get out? Example, Mara or AMD falling now. I mean, look, you have, like for AMD, for example, you kind of knew you had that 160 level to play with, right? Because we were awfully close into that that $10 level on AMD. And here's what I'm basically looking at here. You have a 159.71 high. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule that you are going to break above that, or that you are going to reject, sorry, off that $10 level, the whole dollar level. But it's not a bad, gamble to have. It's not a bad chance to take, so to speak, right? So if you're looking short, obviously be looking for those critical support and resistance levels. The other one that you were talking about was what? What were you asking about there? You were asking about AMD and then Mara. So Mara I haven't actually looked at today. It's going to take a minute for Mara to load up on my platform, so just give it a second here. But I was looking at Coin. Coin was the only one really making moves earlier on, right? So Mara's down almost 5.5% on the day. So how would we have traded Mara? Let's go and look at the 5-minute chart here. Just allow it a second to load. Load. Yeah, it takes its sweet time for whatever reason. I have no idea why Mara does this. Yeah, so this is the other thing that you were talking about here, waiting for your levels to come in. So look at this. Closing print on Friday on Mara was 19, just like a couple of pennies below 19. 18.97. You came in to that level in the pre-market at 8, you rejected it. And then even after that, around 10:30, you got right into that level and you rejected it. So if you're looking short, if you're thinking Mara is going to be a negative name, wait for it to come up into your resistance level before you get in on the short. Conversely, wait for whatever long stock you're looking at to come into your support level before you get long. That's just basically how I would do it. Not everybody does it that way. You've got different levels off which you can work. You've got VWAP, you have your pivot points as well if you want to incorporate those bad boys. But 19 was definitely a level on MARA today to get in short. We have a low of 17 1/3. We're just a little bit below 18 right now. So let's see if we can make our way down.
Yeah. I like that too, like the idea of waiting to see for that test before getting involved, because I think that's one thing, and that's why I started getting a bit rangier, because it is really easy to just kind of want to get involved the second you think you see what you're seeing, right? And that's something I dealt with a lot, and so, yeah. So to kind of curb that, I was trying to get involved in that way, but I appreciate what you're saying with regards to that. I'm waiting for those levels to come in, but for now, we do have Neil's segment. So we will go over to The Real Deal with Neil. I don't know if it has an official title yet, but we will go do that now. Thank you.
Let's get it started here. We got The Real Deal today, and it's about the trend and how do you join the trend. Everyone always says things like the trend is your friend, buy the dips, that sort of a thing, but it's not so simple. You can't just sit there and start a chart and say, oh, this is a buy trend, that's a sell trend. Oh, this is exactly where you should buy the dip, just hang out on the bid at any price, and if the stock's going up, you just sit there, get collected, and then make those profits. So what I wanted to go over is specifically, how do you buy the dip? How do you short the pop? How do you join that trend? And it all starts with one thing. You can't actually join the trend if you can't identify what the trend is. And the most simple thing, and everyone always talks about this, is when do you see higher highs and higher lows? But you know what else you got to think about? Sometimes you just look at signs of a reversal in the short term. I'm going to put up Mara because the most extreme example of a trend is what happened in a lot of the crypto names recently. And so this is a good chart to go over because you have a stock which was in a clean downward trend. You can see it make a bottom. This is the key. It makes a nice consolidated bottom. And then right about in here, breaks the 50 period, breaks the 200 period moving average, and then suddenly you're starting to trend up. Now, if you can get that to the long side, great. I always think once you stop making lower highs, which is when you break this level, now you're off to the races. So you have this $14 level where it breaks out. To me, this is where you're starting a trend to the upside. What is the first thing you should look for? Can it hold the initial support where it broke out? Right at that $14 level. Okay, well, if you're buying the dip, pretty clean. You see it dip down in, it holds that level. You're buying out in front of previous resistance. That is the first thing you can look to. You have confluence with that. You've got the breakout price, you have the stock reversing trend, you've got a previous resistance. When it comes in, that is a level to work off of. And it even shows you a target. You've got 14 down here, you've got 16 out here, so you can be long that one. About 50 cents worth of risk on a swing, maybe 70 tops, and then you've got the break going into the upside. So that's an easy one on the daily chart. When you have something like that, where it's breaking clean levels to the upside, it gets past that next level forming the trend, and you can look back, have a couple of reasons to buy the dip as it retraces into that breakout price. But when you start talking about a trend on the intraday, it's a bit of a different story. Because it's not always going to be that simple when you see a stock trending in one direction or the other. Let's look at the other direction in Mara when there was a clear massive sell-off the other day. So you tried to break out at 28 even, and then you go right into an immediate downward trend. Now, you can sit there and say, oh, well, Mara's been fantastic. Look at that daily. Where are you buying the dip? No, as a day trader, this is now trending to the downside at the open. So what do you do when it's just falling, falling, falling? It's already down $4, $5. You're talking about 15, 20% moves. I can't chase that, can you? Well, you go right back to the simple strategy. Before that fail, what's a level that actually works? Right in here, $24. It's 24 to that 28. So when 28 fails, be patient enough to wait for 24. You actually see it wick this bottom at 23. It bounces, and then right in here, where would you look to short the pop? If it shows weakness at a big level, that's the place to short the pop. If you can make something work in and around this mess here and get a better price level, congratulations. But the low-hanging fruit is to simply wait till it makes a move into the big level at 24 and then work the short. The other thing you can do here is look at close prices as well. So if a stock closes right here down at about 22.75 that same day, look for any press back into it that fails. And that's exactly what happens at that open. It presses, bounces off the previous day's low, cannot break that. You're looking short in the pre-market range into that high, and then you get another move into the downside. First, you've got to identify that trend. Then you've got to look at those simplistic levels that you can work with to either buy the dip or to short the pop. I always love to see big key previous resistance on the daily where it broke out. I like to look at those key levels from previous days where if it was support in a range, top to bottom, as it goes back through that bottom, well, I want to short it back into that previous low. I want to long it back into that previous high. Once you see a bouncer, you've got yourself an out. You've got yourself an entry in front of it. You've seen the confluence because you had shares trading at that range before, and then Bob's your uncle. And the last thing you should always consider, if you are buying the dip in a strong stock, especially as a day trader, make sure the volume is still there with you. You do not want to be buying dips when the volume is gone. That's not what you're looking for. So the last thing you should always consider is it continuing to do good volume, and allow that to be a bit of your guide as well. That's more specifically for day trading. So as always, you want the real deal. It's how do you buy those dips? How do you short those pops? How do you join the trend? Because in trading, the trend is always going to be your friend.
Okay, that was just quick enough to use the bathroom, like that. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's see how we are doing here on the future. Didn't have an opportunity to look at that so quick. But yeah, we are moving down aggressively here on the future. No question about that. Breaking down below VWAP as we come into that 16.9 area again. Let's see if we hold up at 16.9 as a level of support. I kind of feel like we've been kind of sideways moving, as I pointed out earlier on the daily chart here on the future. It's been some days now we've been putting in these really sideways doji candles. So if that was any indication, we'll probably continue to range 100, 200 point range on the day, really depending on the day in question. But right now, finding some support ahead of that 200 period here on the future. So I want to show you guys a new indicator. It's called the Chand Momentum Oscillator, okay? And I want to show it to you guys in a second, but I haven't set it up here on my platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it to Adara, and then I'm going to set it up on my platform. Then we'll get to talking about this one because it's an excellent way to be able to determine momentum, which is the topic of the day today. And it's used in much the same way that you're using the comparison between RSI and price action. So send it to Adara while I set up this bad boy. It's called the Chand Momentum Oscillator if you kind of want to just jump ahead of things and have a look at that.
Yeah. The Chand Momentum Oscillator. Yeah, I can talk about it quickly here. So basically, the Chand Momentum Oscillator is a technical momentum indicator.
I'm going to talk about it.
Sorry.
I'm just going to send it to you.
Sorry,
and then,
I apologize.
No, it's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can talk about my trade that I'm in this Amazon short. I liked that we had this kind of consolidative top, and then we had this on the longer term, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low. And then I also felt a little bit emboldened, I have to say, by these failed selling. Like, look at these wicks that kept getting eaten up here by sellers. Sorry, failed buying, I guess. I'm in a long mood, apparently. But I like the look of this. I did want to initially get part of my position out at 152.50 and then save a piece for the dream. Shout out to Sharif. But alas, we had some issues here. We got a little bit looking like we want to make a higher low now. So I'm trying to take out part of the position. If we can get back to that 152.75, we'll take out half there and then get the rest out that 152.50. Should we be able to secure that level? I'm going to be open here. I'm happy with it right now. As long as we don't kind of lose everything here in this position, I will be probably pleased as punch, I have to say. First time I've said that today, I think. There we go. First little beak wetter here on Amazon or the Amazon, whatever you prefer. But yeah, my out for this in terms of like where I get out, like what for risk reward. If we break decisively above that 153.30 area, that would be a new high, and I would have to say au revoir, adios, sayonara to Amazon. I would have to get right out of the jungle post haste. It's interesting. We keep jumping up at this 152.65. It seems to be an interesting local level of resistance here. Like every time I'm like, oh, this short's going so swimmingly, then it decides that 152.65 is a big area to jump off at. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. But that is the main trade I'm in right now. Just waiting out this Amazon long. Meta range looking interesting, but I'm not involved right now. Yeah.
All right, guys. The Chand Momentum Oscillator. What the heck are we talking about here? Well, it's an oscillator, so you kind of know where those are used. If you remember the week on indicators, we talked about oscillators and moving averages being used at different times. Moving averages for trending markets, oscillators typically for consolidated markets. That is a general rule, not always one that we have to stick to. So let's have a look at this chart on Apple and get familiar with the Chand Momentum Index values. So on the bottom, you'll see the red squiggly line on the bottom here. That is the Chand Momentum Index. So what is it? It's similar to other momentum indicators such as the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, as well as the stochastic oscillator. It measures momentum on both the on both up and down days and does not smooth the results like typically a moving average does, right? Triggering more frequent oversold and overbought penetrations. The indicator oscillates between plus 100 and minus 100 with a zero value in the middle, okay? Essentially, a security or a stock or whatever instrument you are trading or looking at, you can stay on this, okay? Whatever you are looking at, basically a security is deemed to be overbought when the Chand Momentum Oscillator is above 50, and oversold when it is below 50. Many technical traders add on their own discretion a 10-period moving average. I chosen not to do that here, but what they try to do is try to look at where the moving average is pointing on relative to the Chan Momentum Index. So are the moving averages pointing down or pointing up? That's really all you're looking at here when you're incorporating the moving average with the Chan Momentum Oscillator. Okay, you're not actually looking at the value of the moving average. So a lot of traders, many technical traders will incorporate a 10-period moving average to this oscillator to act as a signal line. The oscillator generates a bullish signal when it crosses above the moving average and a bearish signal when it drops below the moving average. Where have we seen that before, right? So here are some examples of how you can use the Chan Momentum Oscillator. Traders can use this oscillator to spot bullish and bearish price divergence between the indicator and the underlying security, the underlying instrument. A bearish divergence occurs if the underlying security is trending upward, so the price action is moving up, and the Chan Momentum Oscillator is moving downwards. So it's not basically like, remember when we were talking about RSI and trying to see if the RSI's highs are diverging from the price action's highs? So if we're putting in higher highs on the price action and not necessarily higher highs on the RSI, that's where we would see a divergence. In this particular case, we're not looking for divergence between highs and lows between the oscillator and the price action. We're looking for divergence completely in which way they're pointing. So if the price is moving up and the oscillator is pointing down, that's a divergence. Conversely, if the price is moving down, the oscillator is pointing up, that's a divergence. So we're not looking for divergence in highs and lows, but divergence in trend, okay? A bearish divergence occurs if the underlying security is trending upward and the Chan Momentum Oscillator is moving downwards. A bullish divergence occurs if the price is declining, but the oscillator is rising. And so personally, I have this on my platform. All I do is search CHNDE. That's how you spell Chand, CHNDE, and then I'm able to find it like that, all right? Let's bring in an example over here of Apple and the Chan Momentum Oscillator. In this example, Apple made a new high in late August. So they're talking about this high over here that we see, okay? Made a new high in late August and another new high in late September, which was over here. So we have a high over here and then a new high over here. So two new highs. Instead, the oscillator made a lower high in late September, confirming a bearish divergence. So when the actual price of the stock got into that $100 area, it gives you an idea how old this is. Yeah, the oscillator started pointing down. So that is what they call a bearish indicator. And then look what happened to Apple after it made that new high in September. It started to trend down and it moved all the way back down into that $75 area before bouncing back up off that particular support. So I'm not saying this is a leading indicator, but it does give indication as to when, you know, the price may have topped, especially when there is a divergence with respect to price. Okay, a trader who decides to sell the short can place a stop loss order above the September high, which was over here, and take profits when the oscillator comes below that 50. This is the minus 50, as you can see over here. So ended up popping up into that level. So another one, another indicator to use to be able to gauge momentum, the Chan Momentum Oscillator.
I like that. So basically, it like points at because I was gonna say like when you said it's not leading, but I was just gonna ask about that too. So it kind of can predict where a price might go from there, just based. What I like too, what's interesting about that is like that it's kind of read like a chart, right? Like you see the lower high, and you're like, oh, maybe this is gonna go a different direction, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think it's kind of interesting how I feel like because I feel like some of these indicators. Like how you read them is going to be really different, right? Like the MACD is kind of a whole creature, but with this, it's like, oh, lower high, maybe we'll be bullish or bearish, sorry.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of an interesting look, and I appreciate you going over that one there, because that was not an oscillator I was familiar with.
Yeah, no, it was one that I had on the side chart, but I hadn't used at least in a couple of years. And you forget about these ones if you don't use them. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like so many. Like the more that you trade, it's like unless like you have your favorites, and then the other ones kind of come up when you want them to. So
guys, DATS did break through that 4 like we talked about earlier. It wasn't able to stay above $4 though. In fact, it wasn't able to close above that $4 area. We're talking about DATS. The small cap gapper du jour now up above 72%. It has come back, though, into that 3.5 level. So my VWAP on DATS is hovering around that 340, 335 level. So I'd like to see if this one can make its way down in VWAP. Be honest with you, though, I don't have a lot of hopes that this will actually make its way down, because it really hasn't been flirting with VWAP, especially since the volume started coming in and started ascending through that $3 area. I mean, it was holding above VWAP the majority of the morning when we were kind of trending sideways here. But when the volume came in at around 11:30, it hasn't retested that level. Just got to bounce off that 350. I don't know how I feel about punching long on this one, only because we did put lower highs in, and then we have a bit of a flat bottom at that that $3.50 area. So I am a little bit hesitant to want to jump into this bad boy, but I just wanted to point out DATS VWAP on my chart at 3 1/3, but we got that $0.50 area as a possible level of support, and we know for sure that resistance is at that $4 level, owing to all these wicks over here that came into 4 only not to be able to close above it. But we do have a high day of 413 that was reached ever so briefly. LAES continues to trend higher incrementally. It's holding this 20-period moving average quite nicely here, which is the yellow line on my chart. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. There we go. Oh, we need to make the green one bigger too now. I don't know why these lines have changed thickness, because I thought I changed all of them. Anyway, holding this area quite nicely. Let's see if it's able to stay above 3. It also had trouble staying above that whole dollar area. LAES got into 310, but keeps making prints or closing prints south of 3. So the only one that actually closed above 3 was this candle here at 1210 on my 5-minute chart. So putting in higher lows, though, no question about that, LAES, and now above the pre-market high, which was $3.04. We've got to the $3.10 twice. Only reject off that 10 penny area there. So keeping my eye on small caps and large caps today. Let's see what happens.
All the caps. No cap. We're looking at all the caps. But yeah, I also have to shout this out when you're talking about DATs, Bears versus Bulls, saying no pun. That's how I talk. And I just have to give a clap for that, because I love any and all puns all the time. Thank you so much to Noah for the $4.99 super chat. I miss y'all. Sending love. Shout out to all dealing with hard freeze. I'm grateful for day off to trade. Watch my fave show and learn. So helpful. Thank you very much for the chat. Very sorry to hear about the cold weather. I know a lot of people are dealing with it right now as we get into that winter. Yeah, very interesting time over here. Also, Ponzi saying Dara's pick looks like she's talking, probably puns. I just noticed my face is moving in the banner, which is interesting. Yeah, cool times. I got to cater to that. My face probably is talking puns. I'm sure it is. But yeah, no, I also have an eye on Tesla here, just because I like that. Tesla all day has not decided what it wants to be when it grows up. But I think right now it's looking like it could be another potential long here. We're still up on the day. We had that really nice bounce off VWAP, which, you know, as I was saying earlier, and as I kind of said all the time, like, it's not always going to be, you know, VWAP's not always going to be an area of play, but I think this clean bounce off VWAP at this 218, almost 219 is nothing to scoff at. I do like this bounce up. I think if we kind of continue to make higher highs, I'd like to see what we do around this this 220 area, because 220 kept kind of being a level. I think that could be a very interesting look. I would like to see what occurs here, but I'm interested in getting involved in Tesla in whatever direction it chooses to drive its Cybertruck. To the upside, to the downside, I don't know. I'm tempted, because of that VWAP bounce, I'm kind of tempted to not go short on this for now. But either way, like, we know my style. It will be brief. It will be short, and it will hopefully be planned. Also, I got out of this. I mean, it will be planned, but hopefully that goes according to plan. I did get out of Amazon. I saw that we kept kind of having struggles getting below that 152.50, which was initially my plan for an out. I liked that 152. 65 area, we got to 68, then bounced back up. But then I saw that 152 70, and I was like, we may as well get involved here. Amazon did not go as low as I thought it was. Looks like maybe we could have a bit of a reversal play here. I don't want to make any assumptions, just going to see where the stock goes, and then hopefully Amazon will deliver in some direction at some point. Is there anything you're looking at right now?
I'm also about to load DWAC because it's making that move and has been through 20 bucks. It got to 221. Now we're down into 20. So I'm just going to keep this up on the side chart here in case it makes some ridiculous moves that we should probably be aware of. Right now, I wouldn't be inclined to trade it with an 8-penny spread on a $20 name. The liquidity has been increasing a little bit on DWAC, but it's still, it's a little suspect at this point. The liquidity today, 3.6 million shares, nothing to scoff at, but yeah, we'll have to look at what the 5-minute volume is because I was about to say the DWAC. The volume on DWAC is dropping just a smidge here. 5-penny spread tightening up a little bit now. If I was to get into DWAC here, obviously you guys know how I trade, and I would be getting out, through the break of the lower low. So if it break this trough over here, so right at that 19.25 would probably be my out. But I'd like to see a couple of prints above 20 as this one tries to hold. Tries to break through that whole dollar, $10 level at 20. We'll have to wait and see what this one does. But yeah, not much really in my world at the moment. Market very kind of sideways as it comes back down into 16,930. Into 16,930 here on the market. A bit of a double top at that 17.25, 17.0 on the NQ, and down back into VWAP we go into the previous morning's support level there, the IB high. That's where we are right now on that open. So we'll keep watching some of these market moves here as DWAC now gets above $20. The bid printing at 20, the ask at 20.15. Haven't seen anything on the bid printing above 20 bucks, but DWAC definitely one of those ones I'm going to keep my eye on. LAES is the other small cap gapper that continues to print to the high side. $3.15 now. It continues to make higher lows all throughout the day with the trend definitely intact on this one, but just a bit of a slower mover has to be said on LAES here, as you're not going to get, that $1, $2 move that you were last week in a matter of minutes. It's going to be like you got like a 10-penny move in a few minutes here on LAES. So that's the look there. Anything else you guys want me to look at, just tag me in the chat. Wes, hello, Sharif. Thoughts on Fun? Yeah, kind of a similar look to DWAC. Let's load up PHUN. Obviously, these two are related. Anybody who remembers trading DWAC will remember the move in Fun. They were kind of sympathy plays for one another today. Fun awfully stronger, much stronger than DWAC, 288% on the day. When I looked at Brendo this morning and when I was sitting beside Brendo and I said to him, this one was 60-something%. So now we've gone up over 200% since we said that last. Here on Funware. Is it called Funware? PH?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, Funware Incorporated. $50 million market cap, guys. The float, 152 million shares. This one was trading south of 10 pennies this morning. In fact, it was kind of like in that 9-penny range earlier. But obviously, with how well Donald Trump did yesterday in the Iowa primaries, something tells me these stocks may be running again, as he probably is going to rack up more victories if you believe some of the polls. The interesting thing, though, is I don't really get why DWAC and Funware are moving, because he's using all his other social media platforms. He's been allowed back on Facebook and Instagram. He's been using both of those. I really don't go on X all that much, so I really haven't seen if he's been using that. But, I mean, what's the sense? I remember he had an exclusivity agreement for him to post only on Truth Social, but that's come and gone by the wayside because he's been posting on everything else. So I'm not really sure what the point of any of these names are. Or is at the moment, but anyway, they're running. That's something we can't really argue about there. 275% now for Fun. We're getting a nice rejection off that 32 penny area. I would say Look for anything possibly bouncing off 25 pennies. 25 pennies was or is possibly an interesting support level here. After breaking to 36 pennies, we kind of bottomed out and based out at 25. So if you're getting long here, I'm suggesting a break of 24, 25, and then you kind of you let that trade go because, well, it's a dangerous one. So Funware looking awfully fun for the longs, especially if you were involved this morning when we talked about this one being up 60-something%, now well over 200, almost 300%.
Thank you very much for that pun. I very much enjoyed that. Yeah, or punware, I guess, as well. Ooh, cash cow blowing up. But yeah, so I think that is, I enjoy that that pun. I think that funware is a really interesting look there. Really strong stock. I actually have a question, kind of, I guess, sort of with regards to momentum trading too.
Yeah.
If you have a breakout like to to the upside, if you're doing one of these small caps, and it is like, because I know you usually start about 85 cents.
Okay.
So it's not like a penny stock, but the same idea. If it's these stocks that do, they're valued a little bit less, do you find you have to take it with like more shares to make it, I guess, more worth it? Or,
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, some of these
sense.
guys are like, they're trading at 25 pennies, moving 10 pennies is like, it's a lot, right? Moving 25 pennies for a 25 penny name, you're doubling in value that day.
That's significant.
So yeah, because you're only getting 25 pennies on the move, you got to size up.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess that's self-explanatory. I was kind of curious. Yeah,
that's fine.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I think what else is occurring here? Yeah, I mean, I like NVIDIA. I kind of like that NVIDIA is continuing to make newer lows. If next time we have, because I can't keep whatever's the opposite, if we have another baby rip here instead of a baby dip, I'm gonna get involved in a little short if we get another baby rip here, then just, kind of see where there's areas of resistance. I have to say, I kind of like this 561 area on NVIDIA, and I say that because look, we're at this consolidation, then a nice big move to the upside. I don't think 561 is insignificant. You know what I mean? I think it's, at least in this daily, I think it's an interesting look, and I think what we do at 561 could be of interest here. I would like to kind of wait and see on this. Also, Nima Amadi saying, hey, is that a descending triangle forming on ADM? I'm guessing you mean AMD. If I am wrong, I apologize. I see what you mean. Generally, though, I think, and this is one of the things I learned as well, is usually it's kind of like certain patterns can form and they're not as significant. You know what I mean? So because AMD is up on the day, and by so much, it would kind of be more significant if it was an ascending triangle with kind of the opposite of what we're seeing here, right? So what we're seeing here is not a perfectly flat top, but decent support at this 159.5 and then lower highs. But if it was the opposite, this 159.5 and then higher lows. No, sorry, yeah, so I meant to say lower, yeah, I said lower lows earlier. Yeah, so it's like if we have these lower lows with a flat top is not gonna be, in my opinion, like a super significant look. It just kind of looks like we're giving, shout out to Sharif, giving up the ghost a bit, losing some momentum here at this 159.5. I would say it'd be more of kind of a triangular form if it was this exact top, this 159.5, and then we have higher lows. But that's not what we're seeing, so I would say it just kind of looks like we're losing steam a little bit on AMD with these continuous lower lows and a slightly lower high as well. Apologies for mixing up the lower highs and higher lows there a little bit, but that is the look on AMD.
All right, let's restart the lesson. We talked a little bit about the Chan Momentum Oscillator after Neil got back from Real Deal. Let's talk a little bit about just generally what is momentum trading. It's a very simple concept to explain. I think a lot harder to probably implement in practice. If you were a newer trader, basically if something's moving up on the day, you are trying to ride with it. If it's moving down the day, you are trying to move down with it. So investors can use momentum as a trading technique that seeks to profit from the herding behavior. Herding behavior in this case is because basically a lot of people are punching into this, hence why it's moving high. The herding behavior of market psychology, rather than the buy low, sell high mentality, momentum trading follows a strategy of buy high and sell higher. Once a momentum trader sees acceleration in a stock's price, earnings, or revenues, the trader will often take a long or short position in the stock in the hopes that its momentum will continue in either an upward or a downward direction. So it works whether you're going long or going short on a specific instrument. and I say instrument here specifically because you can use this on a security or non-security instruments as well, right? And then if all my crypto people know exactly what I'm talking about, because the definition of security has always kind of been in question for some of these coins. So this momentum trading strategy relies on short-term movements in a stock price rather than the fundamental value. But I want to make a very clear statement that, you know, something could be running because of fundamentals. It's not the only reason that it's running is because of technicals. So fundamental, fundamental analysis has a part to play in here. It doesn't have to be breaking out on technical for technical reasons. It could be, you know, something like we said from earnings, which is obviously more fundamental. So some special considerations that you need to have here for momentum trading, some of the momentum tools. Some of the tools used by momentum investors help to define the trend, such as a trend line. So how many times have we used trend lines in the past? And that's like the easiest way to determine a trend. Are you able to connect a series of higher lows together? Are you able, for something that's moving up? Are you able to connect a series of lower highs together for something that's moving down, right? So the trend line is the easiest way to kind of determine what the general trend is. But as we always say, when in doubt, zoom out, because what you could be looking at is a trend within a larger consolidation period. So over the last year, you could say there could be a $50 spread from, you know, say 100 to the low side and 150 to the high side. And then you have, you know, intervening periods where we're moving up or moving down between that $50 range. So make sure to look at, are we breaking through 52-week highs? Are we breaking through all-time highs? Where are we relative to the overall long-term trend? Just because you're in a short-term trend of higher lows or lower highs doesn't mean that that's going to subsist. And the other reason to look at the overall, the longer term trend is to determine where support and resistance can be. So going back to that example of 100 to the bottom, 150 to the high side over a period of a year, right? If we get back into that $100 area and you've seen it bounce off that support like 4 or 5 times before, you may be very interested in taking that 100 long in the same way that you'd be taking that 150 short. So zoom out on any particular instrument. Just because you're able to put a couple of lows together or a couple of highs together for a trend doesn't mean that that is the long-term trend, okay? So the trend line obviously is drawn from the high price to the low price or vice versa over a given period. If the line is up, the trend is up, and the momentum investor buys the stock. If the trend line is down, the trend is down, and momentum investor sells the stock. Surprise there. So some disadvantages of momentum trading. Just like any other trading style, there are risks that come with momentum trading. By using this technique, you should know that you are trading on the back of other people in the market, and the price trends are never guaranteed. And always be prepared for unexpected reversals or corrections that take place. This can happen because of unexpected news or changes in investor sentiment in the market, right? How many times have we been trading something intraday, a news catalyst gets released, and the trend on that stock changes on a dime? Similarly, if you're swing trading something, you may wake up 6 a.m., you look at your phone to kind of look at what your positions are that day, you're gapping down $3-4, whatever, because there's a news catalyst that broke overnight in Asia. So you need to be acutely aware of the change in momentum as a result of whatever, news catalyst, macroeconomic situations, interest rates, whatever, okay? Some indicators that you can use to determine or to support your momentum trading style are the 3 big ones is obviously RSI, the relative strength index, the MACD, moving average convergence and divergence, and moving averages or exponential moving averages. And in that case, you're looking for crossovers between moving averages, where say the 50 period will cross over to the north side of the 200. We call that the golden cross. Conversely, if the 50 period crosses down on the 200, we call that the death cross. But there is another type of momentum oscillator that we use, and it's very similar to RSI. We'll get to that one in a second, but right now I just want to talk about Tesla because we did get above that $220 area and created a newer high here on TSLA, but we are at this possible resistance level. So earlier we knew that 220 was support. We got that dip onto 220 real nice there and rode it in for a couple of bucks into 222, but we gave up the ghost on 220 earlier, but we're right back at 220, which means what? We are back at resistance. So I'm not going to be quick to jump in just because we're printing a few pennies here above that 220 level on TSLA. It's up 0.5 percentage point, but if you saw what this bad boy did this morning, you'd be you'd be more hesitant to get into this one because it was a nice epic recovery there on the bell, but gapped down quite aggressively on the news that Elon Musk wants to pick up about 25% of the shares of the company because he doesn't trust anybody to have a veto say over him and the development of AI. Otherwise, he wants to build out AI in a different company. That's what he says. Not going to really negotiate that whole thing. But anyway, looks like possible resistance coming in here at 220 as we reject that level again on TSLA. And I got to tell you, I'm not really inclined to take anything long here, especially now with the NQ down almost, more than 1/4 point and south of VWAP. We did get a 16.9 bounce on the NQ earlier today where we got into, what time was that? That was around 12:30 or so. We dipped down right to 16.9. In fact, what was the low print there? It was 16.902. And then we bounced right off that area. So we're kind of doing the dance here with 17,000 to the high side and 16.9 to the low side. We did get, quite a ways above 17,000. We got to 17,033. But every time we get into 17, we're rejecting. So I think it's just going to be more of that sideways action on the market like we've been getting here. This is the daily on the NQ. Look what we did on the 10th. Big doji candle with a tiny body. Same thing on the 11th. Not as big of a doji candle, but a tiny body as well. And then yesterday, even though we only traded for a few hours yesterday, we're doing that kind of same thing where it's very small body, engulfed more by a doji. Today we're a little bit lower, but who knows? We trend up and we get another doji. That'll be like 4 dojis in a row if we get a doji today. We can't really break above this 17.1 1/4 level, but we'll have to see how the rest of the day plays out on the market, Adara.
Yeah, is that significant? Is that like a market omen if there's like 4 dojis in a row, or is it just like it would be? I was just wondering, like the way I was like the 4 doji rule. I'm like, that'd be cool. You know what I mean? But
there wasn't much in way of trading though yesterday, but the futures were open, guys. And I see Patrick asking here in the chat. There was I think we were open for a few hours. Not exactly sure how much we were open, but we were open yesterday.
Yeah, thank you. No, I was just curious because I'm like the 4 doji thing sounded really cool, so I was just wondering if that was an actual trading rule. I did get it in this teeny tiny meta long. I guess it's a meta long in meta, and I say that because A, I have not very long-term plans for this trade as per usual for me, and B, I took a scintilla of shares. Basically the plan is to see what we do here. I've noticed we keep being able to get to this 369.80 area, even if we're just wicking to 369.80 and then we reject violently. So I'm just gonna wait here at like a little bird at the pond to see if I can get the beak wetter here at this 369.80 and then run out of this trade. And I like this 369.80 because look, I mean, we had consolidated like twice we had some consolidation over here. We keep getting to this area and then falling back to the downside on it, right? So I think there's enough, I guess, proof that this area is an interesting area, some confluence here. I just want to keep an eye on it. I want to be cautious, and I am certainly interested in getting whatever teeny tiny amount of momentum I can get here. Not to say that this is momentum style trading. It's very much my scalping range stuff, but I do think Meta keeps getting a little bit of momentum, that didn't really work, up into this 369.80 and then falling back down. So we shall see. Julio joking, 4 doji rule equals all-time highs. That'd be fun. No, I was just joking just because I thought it sounded kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, light bulb. We're just short everything. Sean says that, to quote, we're just short everything. So congrats to that. Shorts are definitely the vibe, I say, as I'm in a tiny long. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, if we decisively break below this 369 kind of area, I will say au revoir to Meta. I shall unlike this trade, but we're going to have to wait and see how it goes. How is LAES going?
Just got into it, so I'll just send it back to you while I put in some of my orders.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. But yeah, so Meta kind of chilling out here. I'm just going to let it kind of do its thing, 21 for a little bit. I'm kind of recognizing I'm going to have to leave this trade because we're falling down a little bit with the viciousness. Also, NVIDIA continuing to interest me. I like this bottom at this 362 kind of interesting because, I mean, look, we did have these failed wicks to the sell side. Sellers trying to get in and buyers are like, nah, and continuing to go back up. We have sort of, honestly, a little bit of a descending wedge just here at these lower highs. Flat bottom, although we're still up like 3% of the day, so I'm not at all saying this is a descending wedge. I just think what I'm trying to say is this 562 seems to be an area of importance for whatever reason for NVIDIA right now, only really as of like the last kind of 45 minutes, 40 minutes area. So, I mean, we'll see if this continues, but I notice an area, I'm going to keep it in mind. I'm going to keep it in my thoughts. And also, always in our thoughts, I would like to take a moment here to thank the lovely people at Benzinga, because we are brought to you by Benzinga Pro. And you can sign up today for 50% off their premier news and research platform for retail traders. Just use the code TTV, capital letters. That is T to the T to the V, capital letters. Just use the link in the description to go to checkout.
HMST just broke through $15. That's a good look. Shout out to Saad Mahmood for pointing that out. He's been saying it, I think, the majority of the morning. We got through 15. I think ever so briefly there, 15.04, technically the high of the day. I got to tell you, Saad, the only thing that really concerns me about this bad boy is the volume. I mean, it is a $15 name with only 3.25 million shares done on the day, and we're about 15 minutes from 1 o'clock. So ideally, I'd like to see a little bit more volume. The volume really did start picking up a bit. Let's just say after that noon hour, we, you can see the volume bars here on my chart really start to pick up at around noon. So it's not a bad look. It's just a bit concerning. Just because, to me, the volume is it is an important one to keep looking at. Home Suite shares are trading higher after the company announced that it entered into a definitive merger agreement with First Sun Capital Bancorp. So that is what we're looking at there. Possible merger between First Sun and Home Street. So if you're into that whole scene and you understand the fundamentals about this, explain it to me. But with respect to the technicals, obviously a 40% move is nothing to sneeze at. The majority of the pop came in earlier in the morning at around 8 a.m. or so, maybe even earlier. When this was announced, all the volume really started coming in at around 8 a.m., popping off that 1075 close that we had on Friday. And in the pre-market, we got into that 1460. We're above that now. So we did break the pre-market high here on HMST after kind of consolidating. I don't want to say sideways because we did make a couple of moves, but we weren't able to take the pre-market high. Now we have 1509 HOD. Let's see if we can continue with the strength on this bad boy. I am set up here on LAES, looking for a 3-hold. Small shares adding here at 315, looking for this particular level to hold. The out will be the break of 3, as this one runs about 40% to the good. Let's see if we can get a better cost basis on a pullback here. Some small cap gappers, I don't want to say there's a whole bunch, but there was a lot that I was watching earlier. HMST, LAES are the ones that are continuing to be in play for the longs. Anyway, DATS was a great one. It's since come back into VWAP. DATS was one that we were watching earlier, 64% of the good, but now hugging VWAP and definitely finding support at that 3 1/3 on DATS. The only reason I'm not running to buy this one at VWAP is because of all the previous or all the lower highs here. So we have the rejection of 4 at that 413. Then we put in another 4 break at 406. Then over here, we got the best we could do is that 380 area, and then we haven't been able to break 350 for quite some time. So lower high, lower high, lower high with a flat bottom at VWAP. We'll see whether this one is able to break that pattern and continue to curl up into that $4 area, or whether it's already had its day. So we'll have to wait and see what we get with DATS, but HMST flirting with 15 right now, Dara.
Yeah, no, definitely home sweet home if you were in that trade. That is, yeah, really interesting look there. But yeah, no, I'm still kind of hanging out in Meta. I am in the sim here. Meta holding up this 369 area really well, but I still am nervous about the lower highs. I think I might have overestimated the amount of room this one had. So I'm just going to try to get out just slightly above my point of entry. I noticed we can get to this 369.35, so that's where I'm deciding to get out. Like I said, very small share size. So we shall see what we shall see over here in Mademoiselle Meta. We're going to have to see how this this picks up here. But yeah, I think definitely with regards to talking about trading styles this week, I think I want to be kind of true to mine, just kind of stick with the scalping, see when we have levels come in that I'm interested in, and then just be careful with what's occurring there. Just be cautious, be aware. And yeah, that's my take on that. Also, Netflix just kind of looking interesting. Netflix is on my side chart for right now. And I just noticed this kind of interesting little scooped bottom on Netflix. Will we see a bit of a recovery here? I'm going to have to wait and see. If we kind of break decisively above this, if we have this bounce at this 482.80, because that's where we had a little bit of an area earlier, I think that could be of interest. I might get involved in this Netflix. We are above $1 million, which, as we know, is my parameter to get involved in these kind of trades. Which reminds me, let's look at Lily, because I have not looked at Lily today. Let's see how she's doing. Probably, yeah, she's not above $1 million. However, I do think the range here is interesting. We have sort of this 647, 1, 2, 3 times, this bottom of 641-ish. Interesting look, but we're below $1 million, so I shall not get involved because, I have to have parameters for myself, right? Or I would just get involved in this name all willy-nilly, and you could not do that with something like Eli Lilly. There we go. But yeah, just kind of, this meta trade is my main thing going on. I'm trying to find something else, but I also don't want to, force myself into a trade, you know what I mean? Just kind of find something that occurs here. NVIDIA is actually still making lower lows. We're at that 561 area, though, that I said I was kind of interested based on this kind of little brief selling period we had earlier. So we'll have to see what we do at 561. I am very much interested. We shall see what happens. Diamond Realty of Miami saying dropping bars. Just talking. We'll see what occurs. But yeah, no, NVIDIA picking up at this 561 is very interesting. Meta hopefully doing something would be interesting as well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Meta's near the low of day, sadly, at the moment, and so is Amazon. I don't want to say Apple's a couple of bucks off the low of day, but Softy's awfully close to low of day right now as we look. It is still positive on the day, which you can't really say for a lot of these Mag 7 names, but Softy just made a new low, 388.95, just popping back into 389 right now. Google as well, 141.80, just popping above 142 at the moment. So a lot of these bad boys near low of day at the moment. So careful with some of these Mag 7 names. I'm keeping my eye on HMST here as it breaks and holds above 15 and now 40% to the good. Let's see if this one can continue to pump. The other one that I want to mention was DATS, because that one just started giving up the ghost through that flat bottom break that we were talking about at that, let's just say 3 1/3, maybe 340. It was holding VWAP quite nicely here, DATS, after putting in 3 lower highs, but that's as good as it's going to do in terms of holding up at VWAP, now breaking down decidedly below that into 3 1/5. But you're still holding above that $3 area. I'm not really sure what to make of this one. It is now south of VWAP, so I'm definitely not going to be looking for anything long. It's got to reclaim VWAP and break above 350 for me to get interested back into this one. But it looks like all the fun right now is being had on HMST. Ooh. As that one breaks through 1540. Pumping back into that 15 1/3, 1540, possibly coming into 1550 here as it starts to squeeze. HMST, I didn't give you guys any of the details with respect to float and other things. So float on HMST, not small, 17.8 million shares, so definitely on the larger side. With respect to short float, let's find out what Trade Ideas has to say here for Home Street. Okay, so not negligible, guys. 8 1/5 is the float percentage of the float that's short. So 8 1/5 of 17.5 million shares, let's just say. Okay, so good, decent amount there, sub 10, but something we should know of. And this is what scares me. Again, the volume is a little suspect on this. Look at, you're getting these candle wicks into 15. 40.5, and then you're getting a Huadunk right back into 15.25. So 20 penny moves back and forth on HMST. So I'm just suspicious of the volume, but the move is what it is. I mean, it's pumping. It's above the whole dollar level. It initially had trouble at 15. It's cleared that. It's closed above that. So any concerns, I guess, here are just my own because of how what the characteristics are of the stock. So I'm not really, eager to jump into it, but I am aware of it. But a good look for whoever called this one out. LAES pumping right back up there into that 3 1/3. We got a beak wetter here at $3.30. We added on this one at $3.15. We're at 28 right now. Let's see if this one can continue to pump, but we are getting some selling at this level. Now, we have to be careful because this is where we rejected last time. I'm not saying that, there's going to be a monster seller on LAES at $3.27. But it's where we double topped, albeit on the 1-minute chart last time. So let's not get too excited that things are going to fill and we're going to make higher highs. We have to respect the previous resistance level that wasn't broken and only look past it once it is broken on a closing basis. So LAES, a lot of volatility coming in here as it dipped down to 308 and then shot right back up into 327. So a lot of volatility on this name coming in here. But it's been a strong name the majority of the morning. I mean, you can't really discount this up and to the right move. Since the bell has rung on LAES, it has been putting in higher highs and higher lows. This is the bell right here. You got a bit of a retracement, 2-candle retracement on the 5-minute chart. And then since that time, no lower lows, all higher highs, topping out obviously at 327. So we'll see if it's able to break that or that's as good as it's going to do on the day. We shall have to wait and see. All right, let's look at some other names. Tesla, we talked about. It's got to get above 220 and close above 220 for us to get interested here. Well, it's knocking on the door at 220 again. The problem is, though, even if it gets above 220, I'm still concerned because of the lower high situation, right? So what we have here is we have a peak at 223.5. And then we had a bit of a flat top at 222. We couldn't break through that whole dollar level. And then we got down all the way into VWAP, and now all of a sudden 220 is a level we can't break through. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5-minute candles, all of which were 222, has been a resistance level. But during that time, we've been putting in higher lows. So good look, not that bad at the moment on TSLA, but I'm just a little bit hesitant just because of the lower high situation and the flat top at 220. All right, Brendo's sending me something here. What's going on? JetBlue and Save have news, apparently. So you'll recall that these bad boys want to merge, but the good people at the FTC have been hesitant to let them merge. So let's have a look at what JetBlue and Save are doing. Let's pull up JBLU first. So let's have a look. Oh, that just rocketed up on JBLU. We were trading at 4 3/4, and we rocked up to 545, almost 5.5. Let's look at Save, see what that one is up to.
Halted.
So Save is halted to the downside. So an inverse move here. Save selling off aggressively, halted at 13 1/3 off a 15.5 top. JBLU, exact opposite. Well, not the exact opposite. It moved to the high side, didn't halt. But JBLU up 7% now, while Save, I was going to say Spirit Aerosystems, but I meant Spirit Airlines down 11%, 10.96 halted right now, guys. Let's see what the news is. Let's JBLU. Let's see if I'm getting anything on my blotter. Nothing on my blotter for that one. Let's go to Save, volatility help. Not seeing anything though. We'll wait for some stuff to come in there before we can report it because I don't have anything to tell you. Tesla above 220 right now, putting in higher highs and higher lows essentially since 12 o'clock onwards. But anemic moves, especially in comparison to what it had earlier in the day. So I'm not really motivated to jump into this one. Adara.
Yeah, I feel that anemic move's kind of the mood of the day on some of these mega caps. I get like the small caps seem to be the vibe for today.
A little bit.
Because I ended up just getting out of Meta, not because we necessarily broke that 369, but I was like, every 2 seconds we would move like 2 cents and then go back down 2 cents. I was like, you know what, I can't take it. We lost about 20 cents in this move. I don't think I planned it out super well when I got involved. I was really thinking we would be able to still get that range just based on how quickly we were able to consistently wick into that 369.80. We ended up not doing that, so I had to say sayonara.
Save opened. I got to interrupt. Sorry. Save opened, and it's tanking. Save is absolutely tanking. The downside is halted again at $8.01 for Save. It was halted at 13 1/3. It opened up at 8, essentially. Just a smidge below 9. $8.93 is where it opened, and then it now halted again to the downside, $8.01. Lots of volatility here on Spirit Airlines, which is SAVE, S-A-V. We're not talking about Spirit Aerosystems, Spirit Airlines. That airline where you see a lot of people fighting online, right? That's
is that it? I didn't know that was it.
Deal was blocked, says Brendo. Lena Khan wins again, so that one doesn't look like it's going to go through. JBLU and Spirit Airlines have been in talks to merge for a long time. They tried to make all sorts of concessions with the FTC to kind of alleviate or, assuage some of the concerns that they have there with competition. But, Lena Khan's made her ideology very clear. And I guess another deal denied here, and that is not good news for Save. It is down now 46.5%. It is halted at $8. What a rejection on Save.
Yeah, I mean, I have to shout out all of the fantastic puns in the chat here coming off of this. Tilran W, you can save a lot with this 50% discount. Also, if you were long Spirit, nothing can save you here. I've got to, I got to respect it. I enjoy it. Also, Ryan McCrory saying Mile Fight Club, which is pretty funny as well. I didn't realize that was Spirit where they're always fighting. I wasn't paying enough attention.
Oh, yeah. Anybody, anytime you see any fight videos on TikTok or Instagram of people fighting on the airplane, most likely Spirit.
I'm going to keep that in mind next time, because you're right. Those are actually really common. Like to see people just fighting on airplanes. So interesting times. But yeah, so yeah, I just enjoyed that. Meta kind of seeming like we're going to have this flat bottom break, which again begs the question, I should not have gotten involved in this long. Even as a range, I've learned, hopefully I won't do this again in the sim, learning hopefully a little bit every day. I might get involved in this short at 369-ish if I see this area kind of hold up. And then I would take it to about this wick around just above 368. That could be an area of interest. We're going to kind of have to wait and see here. Also, there was someone in the chat, I believe Dave, calling out this Netflix flat bottom break. You were correct, Dave, or at least for now, it looks like we did have this one decisive candle to the downside off this nice little bottom here on Netflix. I think that's a really interesting look here on this one. But yeah, I mean, Netflix, I thought we might have a little bit of like, a roundy face recovery here. Alas, we did not. We just kind of fell steadily, continuing to fall here. Not a great look on Netflix. Yeah, I mean, this NVIDIA, I'm still interested in NVIDIA, what we do at this 561. We're kind of failing off this 561, so I might get involved in this short to run this 559 area. Though knowing me, staying in for like $2 is kind of a long time for my style. So we shall see what we shall see. I don't want to like push myself on this, but I am certainly intrigued. We're gonna have to kind of see to see what happens here. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to, if I see a trade that works, I'd like to get back involved. I think though Meta at 369 in either direction is still interesting to me. I just need to execute it better than how I executed that initial Meta trade.
All right, so here is the reason why we are moving down. Spirit Airlines tumbles after judge blocks sales to JetBlue. It is on competition ground. So here is the court decision. I'm going to put this in the chat, but if you're a legal nerd like me, you want to read at least the preamble to it. Every court decision is started off with a summary of the reasons, so you don't have to read the entire thing. And then there's basically a little paragraph at the end of the summary that says a decision. So here it is. Accordingly, for the reasons below, the court rules that the proposed merger as it stands would substantially lessen competition in violation of the Clayton Act. The July 28, 2022 proposed merger, therefore, is enjoined, meaning it is not allowed to proceed. So we blamed, I blamed Lena Khan a little too quickly here. It was a judge who actually blocked this. Obviously, it had to have been brought by the FTC, but that's a look. So that one is not going to go through unless it's going to be overruled on appeal. That is basically it here for Spirit Aerosystems. Spirit Airlines, pardon me, as that whole possible agreement with JetBlue is going up in the air, at least for now. So we'll have to wait and see whether anything else happens with that. LAES coming right back down, though, into 311. So it's not continuing its move up. The break of 3 is where I end this bad boy. So it's going to have to hold that whole dollar level at 3. Otherwise, I want no part in it. It doesn't break through the previous high over here at 306, at least for the moment. So previous resistance acting as support for now. Let's see what this one does. If it comes into breaking 3, I'm going to get out of this one, coming back down now into 37%, as the overall market really is trending down. We just got into 69 again on the future. So here we are, 69, bouncing off 69. Well, not exactly 69. We got down into 16,891. But we're at 16,908 right now. So that general 16.9 area at least holding for the moment. But the trend is still to the downside. It's all lower lows and lower highs ever since kind of double topping here, a smidge above 17. And we've been printing to the downside today, as all, whatever strength we had on some of these Mag 7 names, Microsoft as well as Tesla, kind of are going by the wayside a little bit here as the future comes down. Let's have a look at TSLA, because we're talking about this one being over 220. And yes, these wicks are just very frustrating. So let's just change this one. Over here, we'll go, what was that? The high there. That's not the one. This is the one we want here. So that high obviously is wrong, 220. Let's just say 45. Okay. There we go. That's a lot better. Tesla hovering around that 220.5, putting in higher lows, higher highs, but kind of a counter market move. I'm not going to jump into this one, Adara. I'm just going to.
You're going to stay out of the Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the moment.
I think that might be the move. Like, there were some nice moves in there earlier, but to quote Kunshin Lee in the chat here, Tesla direction is everywhere. I mean, yeah, I think right now it seems a little bit a skosh confused. We'll have to see. Also, a skosh confused was my decision to get in this NVIDIA short. I will explain why. Like I said, I've been watching that 561 like a hawk. I like that. Look at these failed wicks to the upside. Buyers getting overwhelmed by sellers, right? I was like, we maybe have a bit of a short in us. And then the second I get involved, it shoots up. I was like, we're going to stay unless we break higher than these kind of failed wicks here. We did break higher. I had to say sayonara to NVIDIA. I had to be out video there. Really rough look here. I'm happy I took a small share, so I was happy I got out immediately instead of just kind of waiting and dilly-dallying in this trade. But yeah, some people saying NVIDIA might bounce up to 565. We're going to have to wait and see on that. But alas, the short here was definitely not correct. We're going to have to wait. Also, I just find it interesting with regards to that court document there. It's really interesting that court font and screenwriting font are the same font. It's both like Courier, which I just thought was interesting. And was not aware of that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Tesla interesting. Google kind of interesting me in perhaps a range short here, in that we have these lower lows, right? So I mean, like maybe getting involved in the high part of this, like shorting the rip, as I've been kind of calling it, maybe getting involved and kind of seeing what happens here. Because I do like that we kind of have this movement to the downside. What does concern me, though, is if I zoom out, shout out to Neil, when in doubt, zoom out, and that's something I don't really do enough, and I'm trying to do more of, is I like this kind of bottom at this 141.80. I think this is certainly of interest. It's something I want to keep an eye on, because look, I mean, we had all this consolidation. We had decent kind of support here. I would be kind of, I would just keep that support in mind here, this 141.80 for myself, because I like the idea of a short, but I don't want to kind of get involved too early here. I want to be patient, I want to be cautious, and I want to be careful. But yeah, I mean, I can restart the lesson here, I guess, because we are at 1 p.m. So yeah, I mean, we've been talking about momentum trading all day, and I've learned a lot too, because I am not a momentum trader. But thank you so much to Shuri for doing a wonderful version going over that. But yeah, I mean, basically the thing with momentum trading is that investors can use momentum as a trading technique that seeks to profit from the herding behavior of market psychology. So instead of buying low and selling high, momentum traders will look to buy high and then sell higher. So once you already see a trend in place, kind of getting involved in there, right? So once a momentum trader sees acceleration in a stock's price, earnings, revenue, etc., the trader will often take a long or short position depending on what direction, right? In the hopes that its momentum will continue in either an upward or downward direction. This strategy relies on short-term movements in the stock's price instead of fundamental value. So it's like technical kind of trading, right? And some considerations include momentum tools. So some tools for momentum investors help to define the trend, such as the trend line. And a trend line is basically a trend drawn from the high price to the low price or vice versa over a time period. So let me do it on Google, because Google has a trend forming, so why not? Oh, I like this line. There we go. This is way easier for me to draw to, because we know I struggle with my trend lines. There we go. And then for the lower trend line, ooh, yay. Okay. So ignore that they kind of intersect at the top here. But yeah, right? So you can kind of see in the trend line here, if you were to try to momentum trade Google, you can kind of see like, hey, we have this trend line. We're clearly moving to the downside, and you can kind of try to get involved in that. That way, this is not a great example. Google, I wouldn't say super like momentum-y, but just in terms of the trend line right now, it does have a trend line, and I have it open, so I figured take a moment to sip water. No, I have water, but thank you. I appreciate that. I just like needed to drink it. I realized right there. But yeah, so I think trend lines can be really helpful, because if the line is up, the trend is up, and the momentum investor can buy the stock. If the trend line is down, the trend is down, and the momentum investor sells the stock. And so that is what you'd be doing here with something like Google. But there are some disadvantages of momentum trading, as there are with every trading style, right? Like nothing's perfect in life or in trading strategies. And so one thing to keep in mind if you use this momentum technique, right, is that you're trading on the backs of other people in the market. Right? So price trends are never guaranteed. You can get involved in this, and then it can kind of go against you, right? So I think definitely something to keep in mind there for sure. And you always have to be prepared for unexpected reversals or correction that take place in the market. And this can happen because of unexpected news or changes in investor sentiment. And there's lots of interesting indicators for momentum trading. So that includes the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. We also have MACD, and then also the MA crossover, which is the EMA and the moving average kind of crossing over, and where they cross over. It can be like Golden Cross or Death Cross. So I think that's kind of my quick little rundown there on momentum trading. What I think I learned was really interesting, because I think initially before I kind of did this and before I heard.
Oh, I sent you the updated version with the what's it called?
Yes.
Yes. So if you want to open that up and just talk about the Chand real quick.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, the Chand momentum oscillator. It's similar to other momentum oscillators like we're talking about there, such as Relative Strength Index or the stochastic oscillator, oscillator. And basically the Chand oscillator measures momentum on both up and down days and does not smooth results. And that triggers more frequent oversold and overbought areas. And so the indicator oscillates between plus 100 and minus 100. And so how do you interpret the Chand momentum oscillator? So security is deemed to be overbought when the Chand momentum oscillator is above 50. And oversold when positive 50, and then it's oversold when it is below negative 50. So here's a Chand oscillator here on save. And I think that's a good example, because it shows how oversold we are.
Just wanted to show everybody save and then show them the Chand at the same time. Just want to show everybody save and the Chand momentum oscillator at the same time, Adira, so they can get an idea of how it looks like. So very similar to the RSI in that it has values of plus 100 versus minus 100. Right now, as you could see, when save started tanking, we had values of 0. Now we're coming back into minus 20. So typically when anything is above 50, plus 50, it is considered trending up. If it's below 50, minus 50 is trending down. But you are looking for divergence, and Adira, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to show everybody kind of how it looks right there. Right now it's at 100. But again, Adira, one thing that we have to be careful is what time frame we use these indicators on. And I don't think, I don't want to put words into Mr. Chan's mouth, but I doubt that they were used on, meant to be used, I should say, on the 1 minute time frame as opposed to maybe the daily or the hourly, where we can get a more macro view. But anyway, save, halted, again to the upside now, 4 halts, 3 to down, 1 to up, halted at 7:01 to the upside.
That's a very good point. I appreciate, we don't want to put words in his mouth. I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, it does, I mean, like certainly different time frames. The wider the time frame, we've talked about this, kind of the more confluence you get, right?
Yes.
And the more that some of these indicators might be important. So thank you for saying that, because I didn't even think about the whole time frame aspect with these overbought, oversold elements, especially with something like SAVE, where on the 1 minute, this thing is moving so crazily, and with so much wild volatility that this overbought, oversold could move within a second, right? So I really appreciate, and I think SAVE was a really good example. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so many technical traders, when they're using the Chand momentum oscillator, will add a 10-period moving average to the oscillator to act as a signal line. So this oscillator generates a bullish signal when it crosses above the moving average and a bearish signal when it drops below the moving average. But how can you kind of use the Chand momentum oscillator? So traders can use the Chand momentum oscillator to spot bullish and bearish price divergence between the indicator and the underlying security. So a bearish divergence will occur if the underlying security is trending upward and the Chand momentum oscillator is moving downward. And then a bullish divergence occurs if the price is declining, but the oscillator is rising. So now we're going to show an example here. This is an older example, and this is Apple here. Let me zoom in. But yeah, as we can tell, as Sharif said earlier, clearly this is an older example because this is when Apple was at 100, which is not anymore. But this shows Apple here in this example made a new high in late August and another new high in late September. But instead, the oscillator actually made a lower high when Apple made that new higher high, right? So this shows that there's some bearish divergence. And a trader who decides to sell can place a stop loss order above the September swing high. So this you kind of place this order like we were saying, if you're going to use higher highs or to get into a trade or lower highs to get into a trade, then you want to use them also to get out of a trade, right? Which is a huge thing that I learned from Sharif that I've found to be really helpful. But I think this is a good example. It's like, you see this lower high on the oscillator and you decide I want to get in. Well, where do I get out? You get out if it makes a higher high on the trade if you're going to go short, right? And in the end, this turned out to be effective. We did have that lower high in the oscillator, even though we had that higher high on Apple, and then Apple did go down from that point. So it does show kind of where that divergence can come in that overbought, oversold, as oscillators tend to do. So I think that's kind of an interesting look there, and that is my take here, or not my take. This is my review of momentum oscillators.
Awesome.
Or momentum. Yeah.
All right. Let's get to some market action. Tesla waking up a little bit now, maybe looking to go above 221 as it starts to curl back into that 220 80-ish area. Guys, if you can come to the chart if you're able to. We're awfully close to that 221 area, so looks like we want to go back into that 1% territory here on TSLA after really selling off that let's say 223.5 rejection that we got earlier. Here comes 221. Lots of strength coming in Tesla here as the market also finds its footing. So the NQ bouncing off 16.9, coming into 16.9.5 here possibly, and Tesla also reaping the rewards of that market move to the high side, coming into through 221 now on TSLA. So a lot of strength there, higher highs, higher lows ever since putting in that 218.5 bottom at around noonish. And yeah, we had really good trade initially on TSLA, and then we had to get out break even for the remaining amount over here. But yeah, the levels are the levels off which we were working 222.5 earlier. They may be in play again, especially if we start breaking through that 222. Now earlier on Tesla, for whatever reason, there seemed to be a bit of a hidden buyer, an iceberg at 222. We'll find out if that's still the case if we were able to make it right back up there again. Now over 1% to the high side here is Tesla. Now we're not really sure what reason is that this market's getting a bounce, but it looks like, you know, it might have something to do with that technical level of 16.9, right? We were talking about how we've been moving sideways on the market for the last little bit, and if we go break even on the day or a little bit above or a little bit below, we'll get the 4th doji in a row. And then there's been kind of theories floating in the chat as what 4 doji means. I don't know. I don't think it means a whole lot other than the market is quite indecisive and moving sideways. Until further notice, I guess, right? I guess we just had such a strong ending to the year of 2023 with basically from November to the end of December, we were moving up into the right. And yeah, this January so far has been a bit of a mixed bag. Some green days, some red days. Short smeller, tap on save, please. I'll let you know in 1 second. So Neil says it's already open. So let's have a look at save. Yes, there we go. We are trading at 750. Down 50.5%. Neil's out of that one. Oof. So whoever's following with Neil's trade, just be be made aware there. I'm not going to get involved in this one. I think it's just awfully volatile, but it's a great move for anybody looking for intraday volatility. There it is. Just yeah. Tough to trade for me at these levels. There was obviously support here at 5. Let me just bring in my side chart here, make sure that these are not rogue wicks. So let's take off ELAV, E-L-A-V. Let's put in save and see what we got on save. So yeah, those were rogue wicks because technically the low of the day on save is 580. And now we're back up into 750. So almost a couple of bucks of the good now after tanking. 3 halts down, 1 halt up so far. Still south of VWAP. VWAP is at 8. 2 green candles in a row on the 5. So this finally starting to stay open a little bit, but for how long? Let's see if the volatility persists here. Lots of volume coming in the last little bit. This one candle over here at 110 has over 8 million shares of volume, followed by 2 and then 3 million shares. So the volume coming in spades, overshadowing all the volume it had done previously, and you can't even see them, so much so is the discrepancy between current volume and previous volume. Yeah, still down 50%, but definitely off the lows there at 580. So let's put in the ticker on this bad boy. In case you're wondering what the hell is going on with Save and JetBlue, the court denied the merger, acquisition, whatever this was going to be, between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines. And as a result, it tanked right back down there. We'll have to wait and see whether we get a statement from any of those companies about their intentions of appealing or anything like that. That may have throw a curveball at this current price action. So we'll have to wait and see. The NQ rejecting off VWAP at 16,950. So VWAP and the 50-point level are at the same level right now. Let me just refresh this to show you guys. Yeah, this is 16,950 over here. There's VWAP. We can make a big wick into that level, and right back down we go on the NQ, back into 16,918. Let's put the ticker on this one as well. On the NASDAQ, so we've been within kind of the pivots today with R1 at 17.0 1/3, holding up and finding that rejection. Then S1, support level 1, holding quite not bad. I don't want to say that this was as a result of support level 1. It was more like the 16.9 range that we've been dealing with for a little while. So NQ indecisive in its actions, and as a result has had a bit of an effect on some of these Mag 7 names. We were looking at Tesla, theorizing maybe we can get above 222 and take out the hidden iceberg seller that was present there when I was involved in this name a couple of hours ago. But we'll have to stay above 221 for us to get right back up there. Keeping an eye on the Mag 7 names, all of them doing really nothing as the market comes all the way back down now into 16,913. Andy Frank says BA about to break 200. Let's look at Boeing. Gosh. Yeah, I know that it had actually found some support at 200 today on Boeing. Here is the look on Boeing, and you'd be right. $200.09 right now is the low of the day on Boeing. This has obviously been beat up, and it's been beat up quite bad. As a result of the recent developments with the Alaska Airlines and all the subsequent problems that have happened. 8%, guys. We have lost on Boeing, 7.93%. We started off today with Friday's close at 217.65. And now we are at that $200.39 area. Boeing has been absolutely shellacked on the day. I haven't seen Boeing down this much since the day we got the news. Let's have a look. Yes, wow. Look at that one-day move on Boeing. So today, here's the move down from the high to the low on Boeing. So the high to the low, almost an 8% move from the high to the low on Boeing. Forget about the closing price. 8% down in one day. Jeez Louise, what day was it that we gapped down? It was this day. So from the closing print, so we lost 8.5% on the 5th when this whole thing was announced. So we're almost down the same amount percentage-wise compared to the day that we actually got the Alaska Airlines news, and then that was on the weekend. Then Boeing opened up the first trading day. We tanked about 8.5%. So we're rivaling that kind of weakness today on Boeing, and I don't know why. I think it was downgraded. Let's just make sure.
Yes, Wells Fargo.
It was, yeah. So Wells Fargo had its say on this, and then Alaska Airlines is extending all the cancellation through Wednesday. Morgan, no, that's not Boeing names independent advisor to lead comprehensive quality review. Spirit Aerosystems to add further inspections to Boeing 737 fuselage. I'm just trying to see if there's an outstanding reason for but there's just so many bad news headlines here for Boeing. It's hard to see what's really moving this stock, but yeah, all we need to know is the price action. $200.09. If you feel like living dangerously here, maybe a 200 long would be an interesting play on Boeing for that 200 hold. Let's flip. Let's take off Funware. Oh, Funware is pumping here, baby. Funware is back up to that top that we made at 32 pennies. So we'll see if that one continues to run. Funware up 305%. But we want to look at Boeing for a second here. So let me take off save and look at BA. Yeah, let's look at BA here. Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, we're definitely putting in all the lower lows and lower highs. There's nothing to change this trend other than a possible 200 hold. I don't want to stand in front of this. I think it's awfully dangerous, down almost 8%. But if you guys end up printing on that 200 long, it's nice to be you, but it won't be me.
Yeah, let's see if Boeing can find its wings again. I also have to shout out Noah in the chat saying basically just practicing trading save in the sim, which definitely makes sense. As someone in the sim, it's very good for learning, especially with something as volatile as that save move. But I love this comment. This is wild. So glad I just used that for practice. I went the wrong way, turning this plane around. I just got to give it a little round of applause there. I also did get involved in this baby Microsoft long. I liked this 388.30 area of support. We're holding it really well, actually. Basically, watched the book, noticed we kept holding this level. I'm trying to get out around this 389, just before 389. Why? Because we had this area earlier. Then we commented again where we have that 389, just kind of being a little bit of support here. So I want to watch this area very carefully. I have a Beakwater there, hopefully ready to occur there. I don't know why that word took me a while to find, but we found it. But yeah, Boeing, or I'm not Boeing, what am I saying? Microsoft, just, trying to hopefully load this little baby long here. We seem to be having a hard time getting above that 388.60 decisively, so I might take part of the position out at 388.60. Don't have like too many shares, but I have enough shares where I can kind of do that. We can kind of see what occurs here. Pillsbury, I enjoy that punt as well. I really do enjoy that. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, Microsoft here just kind of chopping and churning. Not much to report here. It's interesting. Yeah, you were right. Like with the NQ is really I don't want to use the word manipulating, but it's definitely playing a role with these mega cap names because they keep kind of switching directions basically at whim. Like we keep getting to points where I think we're switching the trend and then the NQ will do something and it's like, oh, never mind, right? So I'm trying to be very, very careful, trying to be very aware, seeing what's happening. That being said, I did like this Microsoft level. If we break below this nice little 5-minute double bottom of a 387.85, I will say goodbye. But we're about $1 away from that now. I'm feeling okay about this trade, especially because I did keep it kind of rangy and scalpy. We shall see what we shall see, but hopefully we shall see a skosh of sim profit. That would be nice. Yeah, that's kind of my main look right now. If anyone else is seeing anything of interest here in the chat, let us know. It really has been a small cap kind of day, though. I think like with BWAC, fun, we're having a fun time. Stole that one from you, but good pun nonetheless. Oh, fun.
I put a possible breakout order here on Funware through the break of 32 pennies. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be the best trade, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that taking a breakout trade on Funware is kind of down my alley. I would have liked to have it off a dip at least, but the order is placed nonetheless, especially if it's really squeezing here. I didn't give you any of the details on Funware with respect to float, etc. So Funware has a float of 152 million shares, but it is sub $1. It's 33 pennies. With respect to short float, because I know DWAC had a high short float for a while. Let's see what Funware is. The short float on it's not negligible. It's 7.5% of the 171 million is shorted on Funware. So a decent short flow. It just really depends. The squeeze will depend on where the shorts are, right? It really depends on where they got instituted and where they have their stop losses for the possible short squeeze. But we've been definitely doing this dance at 32 pennies, rejecting here initially at 12.30, and now again at around 125. We weren't able to break through 32 pennies on Funware, so we'll have to see whether or not that gets a nice move up, but the order is in place nonetheless. The other one that I was really thinking about here is taking a small entry on Boeing because it is near that $200 area. The only thing, though, it really hasn't put in another higher high. Like, look at this. Every single crest is lower than the previous crest. So I'm just gambling in the dark. Unless I'm getting anything like, say, like $200.10, $200, I don't feel good at all taking the long on Boeing here because the trend is so to the downside with lower lows, in fact, too. Not just lower highs and a flat bottom at 200. No, we haven't even gotten to 200 yet. So maybe I'll have something as a dip trade around maybe $200.10, $200.20. We're awfully close to that right now on Boeing. The only reason I'm even thinking long on Boeing here is because of that 200 level, right? That's the only reason I'm thinking to take Boeing long. It's down 8%. Obviously, this is a counter trend trade, no question about that, on something as weak as Boeing right now. But that 200 level staring at me in the face as the NQ starts pumping back up again, 16,950 above VWAP. We did reject at this level earlier on the NQ at around 115. We're right back at that same level again now. Let's see if we get break up. But it's just Boeing to the downside here. I'm going to keep my eye on Boeing as it comes into that $200 level. I think that'll be an important level there.
Yeah, I think whatever Boeing does is going to be really interesting, right? Because, I mean, we were talking about this. Boeing was looking so good. And, I mean, I love looking at the Boeing. I don't love looking at the Boeing daily chart, but I'm fascinated by the Boeing daily chart because we did have all that. I mean, like, both technically and, of course, on that very scary catalyst, Boeing was a really interesting look because if you do look at this, we did have this kind of consolidation at this 265. And then you know, beyond the fact that, you know, technically it just kind of didn't work out, we did have that catalyst as well, basically taking out pretty much this entire move to the upside that we had during that November to remember, as coined by Sharif here. But yeah, we did kind of have this little bit of a fall here from this 260 off of that catalyst. I have to say, Boeing 8% was not to the downside, was not at all in my Tuesday calendar. I was very surprised, but yeah, I mean, and you're right, like, this is one of the bigger moves we've had actually since that first initial news came out. So this is pretty significant. We're just about to knock on the door of that 200.
I'm going to risk 20 pennies here. If it breaks 200, I'm out.
That's fair. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting interesting look here. Also, yeah, Microsoft, people say Microsoft's still curling up. I did, again, this was a sim trade here. I am still in the sim. I did get out of Microsoft just when it got out of my range because, as we know, I kind of like my little tiny range plays. So I like that 389 level because we kept, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. But yeah, we had like a little bit of consolidation here at that 389.
Boeing just tanked.
Oh no.
Yeah, Boeing is going down. So we take that quick L right there. 199, mid 70s Adara. This one not finding any support at the $200 level. Like it didn't matter at all. Didn't even stop there. It just tanked below 200. And there we go, 199 and 2/3, possibly 199 and a half here coming on Boeing. 8 1/4 now negative. And this one doesn't have any lower lows on the day anyway that we can kind of chart. We are at the lowest point on the day. So let's load up this bad boy on the side and see where there could be possible support for Boeing on the daily. Let's see here quickly. You'll recall that we had a very, very strong for whatever reason, really, fall for Boeing. So this one really got going here end of October, where we got off that 175 area, rocketed up to 265. That was about a 50% move. Since that time, since making that 50% move, we have dropped about 25%. So we've given up about half that move already right now on Boeing. So there's really nothing to look at here except 200. I mean, let's say this 195 area where we have a couple of touches. Back in early October and then early November, we had a couple of touches at 195, a couple of crests, but really nothing to really speak of that's worth looking at. I think the best level there was 200, and that just got blown through. So let's see if Boeing's able to take that 200 level again, because the way we just broke through, like it didn't even matter, was quite surprising, at least for me. I thought we would get a little bit of a dance there at 200, but I guess Boeing's troubles are just so great that not even the $100 support level can help them. 8 1/3 now to the downside on Boeing. Goodness gracious, that's a bad look there. The future is right back at that 16,950, so we'll see if it's able to break through that that local high that we made at 115. Not quite yet, though. Still negative on the day, 0.15. To go green on the future, we got to get above that 16,9 2/3, so 16,966. Otherwise, we stay red on the day. Yeah, Softy was a good trade there, I think, especially bouncing off 87s into 89s. At least you got $2 off that, because I'm not seeing much strength in any of these Mag 7 names here, Tesla included.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, thank you for Softy. I ended up taking about 70 paper cents because it's a paper trade. Just because I got into this, I didn't get, that 387 was a much cleaner level. I got in just above that 388 because I was kind of, like, we know my style. I was watching the book. I saw that 388.30 holding really well. And even we'd go up to 389.60 and then we go back to, or 388.60, sorry. And then we go back to 388.30 really solidly. So I was like, you know, I like this level. We'll hang out here for a bit. And I wanted to go to that 389. And I say that because I did like this kind of consolidation we had earlier, and I liked that we did kind of have this level here. I was concerned we wouldn't really be able to get decisively above this 389, especially as someone who prefers to be in trades for a shorter period of time. So, you know, just trying to learn with every trade as I'm in the sim, as I have this opportunity. And I feel like, you know, just trying to get, you know, be comfortable with my areas. But you're right, like I do think Microsoft is one of the better mega cap names right now, at least in terms of like, it seems to be respecting some kind of level. Boeing rejecting that 200 was insane. I was not, yeah, I mean like literally it just swooped right to the downside, just kept falling. I mean, I guess you're right, like all of it, you said it really well, like all its issues were not gonna, I guess, stand up to technical analysis. Like we can harp about a level, and Boeing said, you think I care? Like, so yeah, that was quite quite a turn, quite a plot twist. Microsoft, if this continues ranging, I might just get in and out of this range, this nice little trend line to the upside on Microsoft, and see how this goes. Because like, I mean, I like my rangy ones, and there's not really a lot here in the NQ that's moving in a predictable way. As you said, like Microsoft's kind of the one outlier. I'm not going to try to go out of my way to find trades that aren't there. This Microsoft trade seems to be doing something. I am, though, interested in this kind of resistance at this 389.90, almost 390. You know, $5 or $10 level. Those are always, I think, kind of interesting to me. Something Obi and I were talking about with regards to NVIDIA when it kept making those new highs last week. But also, like, look, this level, we definitely had some consolidation, fell to the downside. We also kind of swooped down a little bit below there twice at 10 a.m. and then again around this 12 area. So I think it's an interesting level. If we're going to make that climb back up, we have to pierce that area with a viciousness. So I'm going to be careful and look out. Patrick am asking, how much is BA losing a day? It's a lot. It's certainly a lot, let me tell you. How are you having fun and fun?
Yeah, we just got another out there at 34.5, next to out 35 and 36. Let's see if this one continues to head to the high side. 350% and going here. We'll see if this one can continue. The volume really has started to pick up on this bad boy on Funware as the tape starts moving around like crazy right now on this bad boy. But there we do have some big size here at 34.5 pennies. I was about to say 34.5, like it's $34.50. No, 34.5 pennies, some big size. You can see size littered throughout the levels on Funware. That is typically what you're going to have with a sub $1 name. But we are awfully close to that 34.5. Let's see if we can make our way up into 35. It has been strong, but it has been choppy. So, I mean, it hasn't been the smoothest sailing to the high side, but it is giving you incremental gains. There's just no doubt about that on Funware. Riding on the coattails of obviously Donald Trump's monstrous win yesterday in Iowa as he blew away all the other competitors, I think doubling them up together, Haley and DeSantis, also prompting Vivek Ramaswamy to drop out the race. So we don't typically get involved in the politics of things here, but this is, part and parcel of why Funware is moving up. DWAC, also no slouch either, was running up about 13 some odd percent or 15 some odd percent on the day. We'll see if that one can get going. But a lot of volatility right now into Funware as it comes back down into 32 pennies. We'll see if it can continue its stair-stepping price action. Again, littered with volatility is Funware, but breaking through highs. The high that we really need to concern ourselves about, I think, would be the ultimate high on the day, and that's about 36 pennies. We did break through and are trying to hold this local high here that we kind of made at 12.30. So we wicked down into 32 pennies. 32 pennies was previous resistance. We hold it as support this time, but the trend is going to have to continue to the high side and possibly break 36 if we're going to profit on this one. So let's just see what we get with Funware. Hopefully it ends up being a little bit of fun, but we'll see.
Yeah, the fun really does not stop with this name. I was not prepared for it to still be up 300+% today. I mean, like, the puns keep coming, but honestly, so does Funware. Funware does not stop. So, I mean, the fun does not stop in Funware. Congrats. It's a really nice trade. Congrats to everybody involved in Funware. Also, I pulled up Ford because James Dell saying Ford one of the few greens on my heat board. Yeah, Ford now just slightly negative on the day, but yeah, I do agree, James Dell. This is I kind of find this one to be an interesting look because I like we all know I like looking at these levels, and I do like this. I mean, this is kind of skewed, but this more or less kind of 1147-ish area. Not really a flat top, but certainly, I mean, I guess we could even argue we sort of had a skosh of a flat top break with these, this 1147 area and then these higher lows. We sort of broke above it. Not too much happening here, but just kind of this snake-ish pattern to the upside, a little bit rangy. But now, see, we're coming back into, in this move to the downside, we're coming back into that 1145 area. So I think that 1145, 1147, interesting on Ford. And Ford certainly has an interesting catalyst. Ford expects to begin building the electric Explorer in June, second EV by the end of 2024. So yeah, I mean,
really? They cut their production for other EVs and they're going to start building new ones. Why don't you guys perfect what you already can't make? I mean, I don't get that. That's kind of funny.
I mean, I think Ford and GM and the EVs, and then also GM with Cruise, which is not an EV but equally eyebrow raising. Yeah. I'll put it that way.
Very surprised by that.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. I mean, like I get they want to get in this trend, but it's like I think these brands that have this very specific EV look, at least they can kind of focus on one thing, right? Yeah. Like it's like Ford and GM are these kind of older, more established brands trying to pivot, right? And I think that's kind of maybe the issue from what I've heard, you guys talk about here. Someone who knows very little about cars, I think that's kind of the thing I've noticed. And I mean, they talk about this in the compound as well. Like these are like, this is your grandfather's favorite brand, right? Yeah. Now they're trying to kind of pivot it. So we'll see if that is successful. Yes, I think it's really interesting to look at. And I do think, James Dell, I appreciate you bringing up Ford, not something I would have thought of. And I do, Lambo trades. And I think that 1145 area is of interest. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. The future right back down off that 16,950. Can't break that 50-point level. Can't break that local high that we made around early 1 o'clock. Right back down we go. 16,925 now on the future, and that's causing all sorts of, I guess, instability, not instability, but indecisiveness when it comes to these Mag 7 names, because they've been kind of sideways for a little bit. Like, I mean, you got Softy coming off the bottoms, and you also had a great VWAP hold here on NVIDIA. That I should have been more alive to. That's a mistake on me. This VWAP hold on NVIDIA. It holds that 561, then makes its move back up to 564. NVIDIA and the chips have been strong. No question about that. 3% for NVIDIA, 7.4% for AMD. So the chips have been leading the way in terms of things to the upside here. But the market very indecisive as the NQ is down 0.25%. You got the ES down 0.5%. The Russell really taking it on the chin, the worst of the bunch today, down 1.25, in the Dow 0.8. So it looks like the Mag 7 holding up some of these names, because when you do a comparator to the Russell or the Dow, definitely the ES and the NQ faring the best, with the NQ faring the best here, 0.29 to in the red for the NQ. But the one we're in is Funware at the moment. We're having trouble getting this 35 pennies fill. We've been getting prints as high as 34.8 pennies, but we really can't break through that top. Packer of patience here is the price action really hasn't slowed down. What slowed down is kind of its ascent up as we get into critical resistance levels. That's kind of to be expected. But what I'm actually looking for is for this previous resistance level at 32 to hold, because it's been holding so far. All right, if it breaks down into that 31, 30.5, that's where I'm going to cut the trade, and we'll lose 3 pennies on the name. But we're already taking a little bit out, looking for profit at 35 and 36, but it'll have to take highs of day in order to get that 36 print on Funware. I saw Nicole Harris asking why Funware is moving. It's just as a result of the Iowa primary yesterday. So that's really all what we're really the whole thing. There's nothing specific with Funware, I don't believe. Yeah, this is what the headline is saying from Benzinga. Funware shares are trading higher amid strength in Trump-linked stocks after Donald Trump won Iowa caucus. The company in 2020 announced it was working on the Trump-Pence 2020 re-election campaign mobile app portfolio. Again, I mentioned this earlier. I don't really know why DWAC and all these other related names to Donald Trump's social media are running, because he's been using his other social media accounts on Instagram and the like. So I recall he did have an exclusivity agreement with True Social at one point. I don't know what happened to that, but he obviously hasn't been upholding it, because he's been posting on Instagram all the time. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Yes, JetBlue agreed to pay a reverse breakup of $70 million and another $400 million to Spirit shareholders if regulators successfully block the deal, says Hertz Scrambler. That's not something unusual for these possible mergers, especially because of the amount of risk that goes into them. So somebody's got to come off with a little bit more money, and it looks like Spirit here is going to benefit from that. But it was JetBlue popping up on the move. It wasn't Spirit. Do we have Spirit here? I think I had it instead of BA. Let's flip back. Yeah. Save finding a base now at around that 7.25. It's been trading sideways for, let's just say 20 minutes or so, a little bit less than 20 minutes. Sub that 7.5, but definitely off that 6.5 trough there that we got to. 580 is the low, I believe, on Spirit Airlines. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Just holding this Funware trade, looking for continuation. Otherwise, if it breaks down below 30.5, I'm out.
So yeah, fun times and Funware. I'm still kind of looking for an in an NVIDIA, and I say that because I want to try to draw this. Okay, there we go. not my worst trend line. I'll take it. I like this, where did I draw? This 564.5-ish area, because look, this is a huge, to me, I think this is an example of maybe support becoming resistance. We had the support, this nice clean little roundy face here off this 564, 564.50 area. Then we come in and we kind of hit this area, then we fall below it. Then we see some resistance. We drop and turn around this area for a bit. Then we come back down, and guess what? We come back right and find resistance again at that 564.50 area, right? So I think this could be interesting. We rejected off that again. If we come back into that area, I will have to make a decision, but it seems to be, NVIDIA seems to be rejecting that area at that point. I did briefly have a really ill-considered short. I was liking that 561 area on NVIDIA. It just ended up being a bit more stronger than I thought it was going to be. I did get out quickly enough. But we will have to wait and see what happens in NVIDIA. Still up 3% on the day. So these chip names have not gone to bed. They are still very interested. Lots going on in the semiconductor space. AMD, kind of interesting too. We'll have to see. It looks like we could be having a bit of a dip here. We're going to wait and see what we do at this 156.60 if we hold up here. This name falling down a little bit after this pseudo double top at 11:30. We're still up 7+% of the day. It's a really strong look on AMD, I have to say. I would be hesitant to short, even though I would, if I did short, I'd take it to like this 156.60. But even for me, even as someone who likes range scalping, I do not know if that is of interest for me. But I have to say, yeah, like interesting look here. Just seeing what AMD does at that level. Microsoft, still kind of like we had this again. I was saying I was interested in this 389, almost 390 kind of area, because we did have that consolidation and then swoop down after. We came back, rejected again, so I might kind of range this again to get up to that area. Kind of see what occurs here on this area.
Slav has a really good point here. Slav says, and AMD has a P of 1200. How can it go up 7% in one day? I just want to correct you. So I see where you're looking at it actually having a PE of 1200, but you have to look at the normalized PE, right? You can't look at that particular one because they have one-off events in last earnings that probably won't reoccur. So technically their normalized PE is 148.79. It's still really high. You're trading at 150 PE versus the industry standard of what, like 30, 28 something. So I see what you're saying, but you use the normalized PE in that particular instance when you have one-off charges in last earnings that kind of skew that. But good observation. I actually messaged my buddy Alfred the other day to let him know that AMD was trading at 1200 P, and then we both noticed that it had to be normalized because of the last earnings. But yeah, it's a monster on the day. 7.2% was up a lot higher. Did dance with that 160 level I'm talking about AMD, and it's now $3 and change, a little bit off that, as it gives back a little bit. NVIDIA also no slouch, 3% of the good on NVIDIA. It looks like we are awfully close to getting stopped out here of Funware. If this comes into that 30.5 area right here, I mean, I could give it to 30. The point is we're printing a lot of lower highs here unless we get a lot of buying to hold. This is the level that I really wanted to hold, okay? Because, you know, previous area of resistance should become former or current area of support. It is working out that way, but if this level is to give up the ghost, I want no part of this trade. So right now it is holding, and here we go again into 34 pennies. I'm sitting at 35 and 36. We've been definitely having trouble with that 34 pennies and 3/4. A bit of a double top there on the 1 minute chart. You know, really don't put too much emphasis on double tops on 1 minute charts, but that is a specific level to be having an issue with on a penny stock. So let's see if this one is able to run up. So far, it's doing what the person who's taking it long wants it to do, which is to hold previous area of resistance, current area of support around that 31.5 pennies. But if it doesn't hold this area, I don't want any more. I don't want any part in it. And yeah, right now it's definitely having trouble breaking through again, as now it tanks again below 33. Maybe I'm just going to have to pack my patience with this one and just put the stop in and stop looking at it. But yeah, Funware. Not so fun at the moment, Adair.
The fun is slowly leaving
69
Funware.
on the future, by the way.
69 on the future. Thank you so much for telling me that. Also, yeah, flush is interesting. That's correct. What's interesting about Funware too is like seeing those stocks that are like pennies. It's like crazy that the difference between 35 and 36 pennies is that like, right? Like as someone who does not trade penny stocks and really trade small caps, I just think that's really interesting. Also, a stock you might find interesting. I apologize, I don't remember who in the chat mentioned this. If you mentioned Plug Power, this is for you. But someone mentioning Plug Power breaking below $3. I know you are not a fan of Plug Power, and Plug Power has officially become unplugged. I cannot really find any news on this. I just googled this one. They're set to give annual business update January 23rd, 2024. Also, apparently, I'm getting a shareholder alert from 2 days ago. A law firm set to investigate claims on behalf of Plug investors. So that's not a great catalyst either. And I mean, I want to talk about this daily chart because I looked at this daily chart earlier. Well, all these other stocks were having a November to remember. Plug Power was like, no, Sharif, my November will not be memorable. It went marginally up. But I mean, compared to, like, we saw Boeing's move up in November. Boeing moved $100 in November, and that was a $200 stock about when it started moving. Plug Power is a single-digit stock, and we went in November. It's November to remember. We went down at the start of November too, so I mean, kind of a weird look. Point I'm trying to make is Plug Power. It's a sad day for Plug Power. Very much unplugged to the downside. We broke below this kind of steady bottom at 35. Sorry.
I feel like it's been many sad days for Plug Power.
That's true. Yeah, it's like when I said BlackBerry was like falling off. It's like BlackBerry's been falling off. Plug Power has been unplugged out of the socket. Yeah, Plug Power might honestly like have just lost the power. I think I might have to say that. Although, as you're right, it's probably lost power a while ago. There we go.
Adara, I don't know if you got to hear about the Uber news, but Uber
Drizzle
will shut out Drizzly.
Oh, that's what it's
called. I thought it was Drizzy there for a second. I'm like, what?
Drizzy Gray.
Yeah, Uber is shutting down its alcohol delivery app, Drizzly. The company confirmed 3 years after acquiring it for a cool $1.1 billion. That was the acquisition cost for Uber. Drizzly will officially shut down the end of March, reports Uber. That means orders are open until then. It posted this news on X. We'll be sure to let you know when its last call was. Yeah, it's a little bit. I thought you might like that.
I like
last
that.
Call,
that's a good.
Alcohol
That's
app,
a good
right?
one.
There you go. Yeah, guys. But Uber really not really caring much about the headline today, at least from what I can see. What's Uber up? Uber is up 1/3%, so better than the overall market. The market maybe kind of liking the fact that they're offloading this maybe to focus more on its core business. We'll have to wait and see. I just know from the last earnings report that their freight business was having trouble as well. That got picked up by the ride-hailing business. It's like one side of their business suffers and then the other one picks up the slack. So during the pandemic, the ride-hailing suffered, but food delivery picked up the slack. After that, it was ride-hailing again as people want to go out and experience and actually eat out at restaurants, and then food delivery went down. So we'll see which one's going to pick up the slack for which this time around. Maybe, I don't know when they report, but anyway, getting rid of the Drizzly service there for alcohol delivery. All right, Funware, still at 33 pennies. Not much to report. Still break even on this one. Still waiting for that move possibly into 35, 36. A long period of consolidation here, one where we haven't really seen since around 11:45 to 12 when we moved sideways just around VWAP there. So not really sure what to make of this bad boy, but not much left long on the show here for to hold the position. About 3 minutes left, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like Funware has taught me like the kind of crazy excitement that you can get even just from just watching a penny stock. Someone who's not into, I'm sure it's like way different being in it. But yeah, I mean, like you know, like it's crazy. Like I keep hearing you say like 34, and then for a second I think it's dollar, and I remember it's like pennies. Like it's such an interesting move. And the fact that this one is up 300+% and strong, I think it realized it was momentum day, and it's like, you know what, we're gonna have some fun on momentum day with Funware. That's what you know. I think it knew. I'd like to think it kind of psychically knew. But yeah, no, really good look there. Still kind of eyeing Microsoft. Like I said, there are a couple levels identified on Microsoft, which were that 389 kind of area. And then this 388.30 bounce. We had a nice bounce off that. That's where I got that baby long in the sim. We'll have to see. We're kind of approaching that 388.30 again. We shall see what we shall see. But I think that, like you identified, that 387, 389 range for Microsoft has certainly been one of interest. So we shall see what occurs there. I think that could be interesting. Oh,
nice bounce off 387 and 2/3,
Yeah.
but then it put in a lower high.
right.
When it got to 389 and 3/4, it is a nice bounce, but
Yeah.
lower high comes back into play. This
Yeah.
is funny. Fee rhymes with AMC is like, maybe the Uber they realized Uber drivers don't feel safe delivering to a bunch of drunks. Have you been in an Uber in downtown? At least in Toronto. That's basically all we're roughing around on Friday and Saturday nights. So I see what you're saying. And we're tongue-in-cheek, obviously, of course. I don't know if it's exactly that, though. I don't know if it's maybe a profitable business, because I know in this country there's all sorts of tax on alcohol. It's funny because in England, you can go to like a regular convenience store, pick up like 2 bottles of wine for £5. Right? You can't get like a sip of wine around here for less than £5. So for $5, what am I saying? So it's funny the amount of tax we have in this country on alcohol, obviously to limit consumption, but
Yeah.
interesting there. All right, Adara, it looks like as if we are heading into the last minute on the show. So you have any closing thoughts for our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have to see if the momentum continues into Power Hour as we finish this momentum trading session. I learned a lot from Sharif here. Thank you so much for all of your notes on that as someone who is a momentum trader. I hope everyone else here learned a little bit as well. It's a really interesting topic, and I think, you know, there's so much technical aspects of it, which I think were really cool as well, like that Chand oscillator. But for now, we will be continuing the rest of this week with other different trading styles. We'll have to see how everybody trades and talks, but we are currently getting closer and closer to eclipsing that 2 o'clock time period. So for now, we shall say au revoir, but we will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Brendan's at the big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. A couple hours to go on a Tuesday afternoon here as we continue to chop around. There's a lot to digest.